Welcome to The Backlash, a weekly discussion about the past, present, and future of Western civilization. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves, joined as always by Mr. Dave Riley. How are you doing on this solemn day? I know.
Not the kind of show that I thought we were going to be having.
Me,
frankly.
Either. No, we had a much more uplifting show about September 11th planned.
No, that was going to be good. That was going to be very, upbeat and talking about death and destruction of New York City and the Twin Towers. But now...
We'll get to that a little later. Of course, we're going to discuss Charlie Kirk. How are you, Cameron?
I'm well, folks. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, it is a difficult day, but onward we march.
Indeed. You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website, thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live to thebacklash.net/superchat. We've got other platforms now. Find us on YouTube at Real Backlash, where we are taking super chats.
They are afraid.
Find us on Rumble at Backlash Podcast. And now we do have an Instagram account that is instagram.com/real.backlash. Please follow us there. Please follow us on TikTok, where we have to remove that video that I did about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
That's got to go. It's in bad taste.
Do we have
now.
a link to our TikTok?
Our TikTok is tiktok.com/@backlash.
TikTok.com/@backlashpod.
That's it.
Is that it?
We're trying to appeal to
Looky
the
here.
young folks. Don't watch that video about Charlie Kirk. That's a poor taste now. We'd like to thank our sponsors, premier dealer of gold and silver, that is Atlas Bullion. We've got North Idaho Tallow, creators of endocrine-free skincare products, and Antelope Hill, who has been killing it on Twitter today. Their takes on the Charlie Kirk assassination have been excellent. The people that will publish anything, Antelope Hill Publishing.com. I just cannot believe that this happened.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty beside myself.
It feels truly pivotal. I have yet to see a political assassination within our realm of the political sphere. I know that I have had some tough takes on Charlie pretty much every episode since we started. He was Shabaskoy premier. It absolutely was. However, he did not deserve this. This is a horrible and sad thing for his family. Unfortunately, we're operating with limited information. I mean, we might find out who the shooter was during our stream, but it was not the original person that was being handcuffed at the event in Utah.
Right. There was that like, he was like a bald, do we have
It was not him. So he has been cleared. What we do know is that there was a single shot that was meant to go to Charlie's head. It got him in the neck, went through one side of his neck and out his carotid artery. Amazingly, he made it to the hospital, but nobody could survive that. As soon as I saw that close up of the video, I was like, no way, absolutely no way. No one could survive this.
Yeah.
There is some video of a shooter on the roof. It seems like this was some kind of sniper situation 200 yards away with expert precision, just expert precision. So I wish I knew who did this. He's still at large, assuming it's a man, which, a shot like that, it probably has to be. But I just can't believe this. This is just so shocking. And I hate to say this because it's so trite, but, keep your family in your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I've got the video. Hold on, I got to change up my audio settings.
We're going to be doing a lot on the fly because this is breaking news.
Yeah, we spent like the last week prepping 9/11. I did not spend any. I was at the barber shop when I got, buzzed, and it's like rerum novarum, Charlie Kirk's been shot. And then within a second, I found that close-up footage of him.
And I would suggest that people don't
watch
watch
it.
that.
I posted it on Twitter. Don't watch it.
Don't watch
it. I told my dad. My dad calls me and he's like, "Did you hear about Charlie Kirk?" And I'm like in the barbershop chair, like talking to my iPhone or my iWatch or whatever. And I was like, "Yeah." And by the way, don't watch the video.
It's just horrible.
Don't watch the video. It's a snuff film, essentially.
It is, yeah. I mean, you know, I grew up on Rotten.com. I was like the first
Live Leak
and
for
Live
me.
Leak. Yeah, I was like the first era of internet kid. So I've seen all sorts of horrific stuff online, and this has got to be.
This is top 10.
It's definitely top 10. It's like as bad as the Bud Dwyer video,
And it has like
it's so graphic. Do not watch it.
It kind of has the same. It gave me the same vibe as like the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
In the way that like when you see Kennedy and his head getting blown off, you know, and his body just kind of goes over like
Right.
that. And it was like the same thing with Charlie. As soon as he got shot, his hands just locked up. And
Yes, and then
You know.
he's just down. And I think that what happens in these emergency situations is that because there's like an air of levity or at least normalcy. We saw the same with the girl that got stabbed in Charlotte. Was it Charlotte? Yeah.
Yeah.
North Carolina on the subway this week. That people, although I think that people were just ignoring her because of racial tensions, but I think a lot of times that these things happen, people don't realize how serious it is for a few seconds, and then they really start to get it. And so we saw that with Charlie Kirk, and I'm just in shock right now. This is just unbelievable.
we have footage coming to us from, was this Utah, where this event was taking place. The guy kind of shows.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that.
You can see a bump
So there's somebody on the roof right there?
on top of the roof.
Just saying? He just ran from over, where's my finger? Whoa. From over there, ran in. And now he's right there. Just saying, just getting right up.
So, you know, that's interesting, right? And that kind of lines up with what we're seeing over here. Looks like the same building. The shooter was apparently perched on top of this. Is it the Losi Center? I guess it says.
I don't want to descend into speculation because a lot of people were doing that on Twitter today, and it was infuriating. I was like, I just want to know.
What, back and forth, whether he's dead, whether he's not. And it's like
Yes,
every
and-
50 minutes, it's like, oh, Breitbart says that he's getting a transfusion. And then you get someone else saying RIP. And then, you know, you kind of get
Right.
waffled
Or
back and
this
forth.
poor man that was not at all involved in the shooting,
Right. I
who
was
had a
looking for
really
that.
bad hour today where everybody thought that he
Well,
had killed Charlie Kirk.
And this thing is weird, right? Because there's this video of this guy, right, getting arrested, getting dragged out. Here's right.
I mean, I saw that and I was like, it has to be that guy.
Yeah, we see, you know, there's the pictures that were circulating around.
And I was like, Bernie Sanders killed Charlie
Yeah,
Kirk? What happened today?
He's a Democrat registered in Colorado, but he was not the shooter. But what is bizarre about this whole thing is that as he was being dragged away from the event in handcuffs, he kept screaming, shoot me, over and over again. Like really, as his pants are like falling down. It was just
Man, rough day for that guy too.
really weird, you know?
So I don't want to speculate about who this was. I mean, Harrison Smith has a now deleted tweet where he suggests that Charlie had said that if he gets shot, that it was Israel.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I think I just...
He deleted it for a reason though. So
Who deleted it?
Harrison Smith deleted
Harrison deleted it?
it. He did indeed. I texted it to you. Here, I'll pull it up on my phone and just read it.
Yeah, this is such a mess. You know, all my...
What was Dave, do we know anything about the event itself? What was it about? I mean, can you catch me up?
The event itself was just one of these regular campus tours that Charlie would go on, sit there and debate college kids, and you know,
It was like Change My Mind. It was, yeah.
What's really interesting though, there is a longer video of the event happening from like the side of the stage, and it has more context in it because like the far away video, you can't really hear any words. The close-up video, it's so loud, again, you can't really hear any words, but from the side video, you can actually hear what's going on over the PA system. And they were talking about transgender shooters. The question asked was like, so how many transgender shooters were there? And Charlie Kirk picked up the mic and said, too many. Puts it down, and the whole crowd applauds. And then the guy starts asking about, you know, gangs and stuff like that.
So he was talking about leftist violence.
And then Charlie said something about, they were talking about gun violence. And immediately as Charlie went to put down his mic again, he got
shot. Yeah. So this is a Harrison Smith tweet from yesterday. I'm not going to name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against them. Now, this is also speculative, but I didn't see any evidence that Charlie Kirk was going to step out.
Well, I mean, you said you didn't want to engage in speculation. So
how could we not?
Let's dive headfirst into speculation. So what Charlie has been doing on campus, I think, has been problematic for the Israelis. I mean, you can see they tried to do these struggle sessions where they would, get the leaders of TPUSA in a room together, and they would all say, well, we're not anti-Semites. We just don't like the banking system. Yeah, Charlie's like, yeah, that's right. It's not all. It's, just some. Well, what about George? And they start talking about George Soros and all these other things. And you can see how Charlie is trying to kind of like land the plane over in the we support Israel camp. It's just like a couple of bad apples type thing, right?
But he's such a high profile individual that why would they do that?
So to play the other angle of this thing, like I don't think that there is anybody in the world that Israel would want assassinated less than Charlie Kirk.
He was highly sympathetic, unequivocally sympathetic to the Israeli cause.
He ran damage control. Like I said, he was doing those struggle sessions. And now, who does youth have?
They have Nick Fuentes. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, no, they've got a bunch they have us.
We have the 30, let's be honest. We've got 25 to 55 male. That's our demographic. In case if you're between the ages of 25, 55 and a male, then welcome to the Backlash.
I don't want to be disrespectful to Charlie Kirk. I don't want to handle this inelegantly, but I would like to talk about the broader implications of this. I'm going to have to walk on some eggshells here, right? But it might not be the time. But I want to talk about what this means for the movement and how to move forward. Because as soon as I saw this, my kind of low-hanging fruit take is that we are so much more extreme and radicalized than Charlie Kirk. Like so much more extreme. And I'm like, if they would do this to Charlie Kirk, think what they would do to us.
Oh, yeah.
To Nick Fuentes.
Well, they've already tried assassinating Nick once.
Yes.
Look at what they did to Mussolini, right? They didn't they rape him to death and hang him in Italy? Or was it Gaddafi?
It was Gaddafi.
Gaddafi that they raped.
I was like, they raped
with a bayonet.
Mussolini?
Yeah. So you can look at Saddam, Gaddafi, Mussolini. This is what we can expect.
And I'm concerned that this is going to create a chilling effect for political commentary.
I don't think so.
I think is more necessary now than it ever has been. I mean, obviously, I'm afraid of getting killed. I am. I'm not going to do any more speaking engagements or public forums, at least in the foreseeable future. I don't want to do that. I want to be smart about this. But now is the time to forge ahead, because it didn't help him that he was a Shabbos Goy. It didn't help him that he didn't talk about the real issues. It didn't protect him from death. It didn't protect him from public scrutiny. So my take on this is like, all right, well, full steam ahead. If they're going to whack us, they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Is that the wrong take? Cameron?
Well, let me just first say a couple things. One is I'm sure I have no idea what happened at the event. As I asked just a moment ago, I didn't even know Charlie Kirk was having one. I know he does these various things. And my heart goes out to his family. I saw the footage because Dave posted it and Rebecca sent it over. And I'm not on Twitter a lot. So, it was quite harrowing to watch. And I feel very bad for Charlie Kirk and others like him. And I have no idea what the motivation is behind this. And I think it's dangerous to superimpose one. However, I do think that there is a larger reality that we've got to deal with. And it is a theme that we've emphasized recurringly on this program, because I think there's a lot of naivete. There's a lot of ignorance among Americans in general, but even among people, I think, in Charlie Kirk's cohort about the nature of the United States. And before I came on, I listened to some Twitter spaces, and people were talking about the importance of unity. And they were saying we don't want to allow foreign entities to take advantage of something like this, for example, to divide the United States. That's a very foolish statement, in part because we are divided, and we've been divided for some time. The second and also difficult truth, but a reality, is that political violence is not something that's started today. This has been a part of our history, and it has accelerated. And I think we've all sensed that we are in a state of escalation, and that's something I'm going to build on later on in the show. But there's no question that we are headed towards some kind of an escalatory politics in the United States. And that's not going to be talked down. And there are many reasons for this that go beyond politics proper. The country, as structured today, is extremely unstable. And part of the reason I emphasize all the time that power in the hands of the elites, per se, is not controlling outcomes. This is a persistent theme that you hear from people on the right, especially. Part of the reason for that is because control does not necessarily come from government. It comes from social cohesion. And the United States hasn't been a cohesive nation for decades now. And even basic agreements that used to be second nature and self-evident are no longer agreements anymore. And that is when you typically begin to see violence. And I think that's what a lot of Americans are waking up to. Now, that being said, this is not the end of America. This is a wake-up call, like many others, that should implore you, if you're listening to our program, to pay attention, to reach out to others that share your views and share our sense of identity and culture and nationalism and faith, because those are the things that are going to consolidate as we enter into this very, very difficult time. That is going to be accelerated not just by political violence, but by an economy that is in free fall, by populations that do not identify with one another whatsoever. And talking points, which I've already heard a bundle of today, are not going to work and express, I think, the worst kind of naivete and ignorance about the climate that we're living through in the United States. So that's just my preliminary thought, Rebecca.
We're getting some breaking news.
Unsubstantiated breaking news.
Federal Bureau of Investigation has made an arrest in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Oh, really?
Yep. You're all like, this is unconfirmed, thinking that I'm going to what you sent me.
I know.
No, I am always 10 minutes ahead of you, Rebecca.
Is this the Troon?
No, this is not. This is FBI.
No, but is it the Troon?
I don't know. It could be. So this is what Rebecca just shared this with me. Some posts on X have surfaced from this guy named Omar. Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him literally. Let's just say something big will happen tomorrow, from this account called Omar.
Can we get a picture of this guy?
Yeah.
This is unconfirmed. We're peddling in some slop right now. I'm sorry, guys.
This is a little sloppy.
It's a little sloppy.
But it does appear that this guy...
But iHypocrite posted it.
Tweeted.
So blame him if this is not the shooter.
There you go. iHypocrite. If you are misleading our audience, we'll have you on as a guest.
He is going to come on as a guest. I think that it's also related to this Irina Zarutska stabbing. Sometimes I see this revolutionary motivation come after something of a 1-2 punch. And that was so much of a galvanizing event. And this is going to be a galvanizing event. And it reminds me, it's like Shiloh Hendricks on crack, what is happening right now. Because I'm seeing people say all over Twitter, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not living this way anymore. I can't take it. And we were talking about this before the show goes live. I'm like, if somebody's doing this because they want political commentators to be scared, to be silent, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I refuse to live like that. And if I feel like that, then I know that millions of Americans feel like that. And so I hope that this is something of a watershed moment and that we can take those people from Turning Point USA that are watching this happen, that are watching somebody that they admire be assassinated. They could recognize the state of the country. No matter who the shooter is, this portends something very dangerous for our country, for our people. And that I hope we can capture some of that audience that want to know what's really going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about this whole thing. And again, it's just like Israel lost its staunchest defender among ages 14 to 21 today. That's not good for them.
I just don't think there's any way they're responsible. I'm not seeing.
I don't see it. I mean, it's possible, but I guess where I'm going with this is like, if they were having a problem before, they're really going to have a problem now. Again, because who's left? You know, there's Nick, there's a few other people, us, but we aren't competing with Turning Point USA. You know what I mean? Like, and frankly, there's nobody that can compete with them. They had a $15 million, $25 million budget on a yearly basis.
That's not everything. I think that what happens to a lot of people is they get pushed into this group of constitutional conservatives. And then there's a subset of them that realize that that is just the penultimate step, that there's a step beyond that of greater understanding of how the world works. And that's the JQ. And so a lot of them move through that, just like I did. Like I was a constitutional conservative. I remember making videos in like 2017, 2016. Yeah. I'm talking about how we need to uphold constitutional values. I mean, the way that I viewed the world was only through exploiting existing systems. Like it hadn't even occurred to me to change the systems, to destroy the systems, to dismantle them entirely. And a lot of the people that are stuck in this camp will eventually progress, and they'll become an audience of Nick Fuentes. They'll become an audience of the Backlash. And I want those people to, because seeking truth is the most white thing you can possibly do. And I want people to come to the understanding that we have, because it helps them deal with the problems that we have in this nation.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and man, it's just so weird. This whole thing is so weird, just because it's like, you know, like I went head to head with Charlie, like, was that 6 years ago now? And like in the time that has passed since then.
Wait, was that you talking about the anal sex with Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Cameron, are you familiar with this clip of Dave?
You've seen it.
You got to see this.
I don't know. I don't have it like saved or anything.
So a lot of people hate Dave. I don't really get it, because I find Dave very competent and charming. But I don't know how anybody could hate Dave and then watch this clip and then still hate Dave. This is like the best thing you've ever done.
If I can find it.
There we go.
It is.
I can't believe Cameron's never seen this.
I feel awful playing this on this.
You're going to play it.
Political control, and you have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
I'm going to let the gay man answer.
Wait a minute. So can I ask you a question? Can you have the balls to ask the gay man on the stage that question and don't defer to him? So ask me that question. I will answer you that question.
I'm
going to answer you. You already asked the question, so I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to ask you that question. This is America. This is the greatest freaking nation in the world.
Where we can have butt
realize
sex
that
if we want
America
to.
is great because we have Western values. We realize that, let me finish, dude. We realize that gays and lesbians are able to contribute to American society in the same way that everybody else is. And let me tell you, when you continue doing that, okay, you realize that we are here. We are able to do everything. And let me tell you something as well. I served in the military, right? I served 5 years. I did
Where he had lots of anal
What's
sex.
up?
How does homosexual sex help us win the culture war?
Who said homosexual sex helps you win the culture war?
That is the question that I'm asking. Why are you promoting it?
Well, it's a BS question, and you know it is. It's a question that is not it's not a good faith question.
So I'm going to be honest.
It's not a good faith question.
Rob, like, honestly, I don't care what two consenting adults do. So that's
the whole thing.
And your hyper focus on it is.
Okay, so I mean,
so then he called me gay, but whatever.
This moderate position didn't protect him.
No, and he eventually came over and on the immigration stuff, the H-1B stuff, the gay stuff. I mean, they dropped Rob Smith from their tour a couple weeks after this.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did not play well for them. I mean, that really did some damage to Turning Point, but
I had forgotten about that.
that was 6 years ago. That was 2019.
That was good work, Dave.
That was 2019. But
Sorry I made you play that.
No, but I mean, it's just weird, because it's like, people die old people die, young people die tragically. They get cancer or, some sort of thing.
But murdered.
But yeah, like somebody that I've interacted with, somebody that was good friends of mine that has worked,
Yeah.
to get, I texted Tyler Boyer. He's the CEO of Turning Point Action. We didn't agree on everything. And publicly, we had a very hostile kind of relationship, me and Charlie and me and Turning Point and all that. But at the same time, there were still back channels open. We still helped each other where we could. We still, he did do that. Or at least his people in TPUSA did. They were, they were good people, and I think that, even though Charlie was a Zionist shill type, he's still a human being. He's got, and I saw this video earlier today of his kids. He was at Fox or something, and
his daughter came up and hugged him.
His daughter comes up and hugs him, and then it's I'm looking across the room once again, and I see my daughter. Same thing happened on October 7th.
Yeah.
Where it's you're seeing these videos of, kids getting blown up, and then you hear your kids laughing in the background.
Yeah, and the juxtaposition is just...
Or you're sitting there watching this graphic video of a guy getting shot in the neck, and now he's gone, and now his kids don't have their father anymore, and it's well, I've got kids, I'm
at the end of the day, this is a white family man whose children are being raised without a father now.
Yeah.
And we have to keep that in mind when inevitably we galvanize around this cause, which I'm fine with.
They need to fucking round every one of these leftist people up and throw them in a prison without the tray holes for lunch.
I get you, Dave. We don't know who did it yet.
I don't fucking care.
Okay. I'm on the precipice of getting monetized, probably.
I want
no, Dave, whatever you're saying.
Roundups. And it's not just the people that may have done it. Look at what the liberals are saying online about this. Check this out.
I'm not saying she deserved it, but I'm saying God's timing is always right. And goodness knows the wicked's lives are lonely.
I want every one of these people to be rounded up and put against a wall.
Yeah.
Now.
And how many abortions has this chick had too?
Right.
It's just the irony of their concept of life, the sanctity of life.
And it's I'm not even
wait, let's let Cameron.
All right.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not even debating about whether or not a few targeted assassinations would benefit or hurt the country, because that's a different discussion. These people are evil. They want us dead. They want your children dead. They don't care. They have no soul, no emotion. Every single person that posts something like this on TikTok should be rounded up and sent to CCOT.
Yeah, really.
Immediately. Sorry. Go ahead, Cameron.
Yeah. So I think relevant topic is political violence. And what does disturb me a little bit is that there are a lot of people, particularly Americans, that somehow find what's happened to Charlie Kirk to be unbelievable and out of character with the United States. That's just historically uninformed. And it also suggests a failure to understand the nature of who we're dealing with. And I think the faster we get to that reality, which overlaps to some degree with what Dave was talking about, and I'm going to explain exactly what he means, because the source of this kind of madness is where we really need to look to understand where we're headed and how we have to deal with the opposition if we're going to save our country. Because political violence is a part of American history, and unfortunately, it is the preferred tool of many radicalized people, particularly on the left. And we're accustomed to hearing about crazed lunatics on the right, like the lone gunmen, for example, that are often propagandized in the press. But the reality is that if you go back to the French Revolution and you go forward from there, the vast majority of political violence has come from the left. And I want to start with an example that happened at the turn of the 20th century in 1901 when William McKinley was assassinated. Remember, we've had a number of presidents that have been assassinated. McKinley was assassinated by an anarchist named Leon Czolgosz, who it turns out was a Polish immigrant, but he was under the influence of an anarchist who we've talked about on the show before named Emma Goldman. Emma Goldman's husband and partner tried to assassinate Henry Frick in the 19th century. Now, shortly after McKinley was killed in 1901, and remember that this is a country that was far more homogenous. It was a country with a stronger sense of identity than we had today, but we were still in the throes of the Industrial Revolution. There was still difficulty on the street. Not everybody was well-heeled. Working in factories was not easy, and there were Marxists, anarchists, among others, socialists all, who were there to exploit that sense of inequality, and they radicalized people like Leon Czolgosz. So Teddy Roosevelt becomes president, and he gives a speech, and I want to read just some of it to you so you understand the nature of who we're dealing with, because these descriptors could easily be used today to describe any number of the leftist lunatics that we have to deal with on a basis that's growing and increasingly dangerous, okay? So this speech was given, I want to say, in December, just a couple months after McKinley was killed, and this is what Teddy Roosevelt had to say. He said, "When we turn from the man to the nation, the harm done is so great as to excite our gravest apprehensions and to demand our wisest and most resolute action. This criminal," referring to the assassin, "was a professed anarchist, inflamed by the teachings of professed anarchists and probably also by the reckless utterances of those who on the stump and in the public press appeal to the dark and evil spirits of malice and greed, envy and sullen hatred. The wind is sowed by the men who preach such doctrines, and they cannot escape their share of responsibility for the whirlwind that is reaped. On no conceivable theory could the murder of the president be accepted as due to the protest against inequalities in the social order, save as the murder of all the freemen engaged in a town meeting could be accepted as a protest against that social inequality which puts a malefactor in jail. Anarchy is no more an expression of social discontent than picking pockets or wife beating. The anarchist, and especially the anarchist in the United States, is merely one type of criminal, more dangerous than any other because he represents the same depravity in a greater degree. The man who advocates anarchy directly or indirectly in any shape or fashion, or the man who apologizes for anarchists and their deeds, makes himself morally accessory to murder before the fact. The anarchist is a criminal whose perverted instincts lead him to prefer confusion and chaos to the most beneficent form of social order. His protest of concern for working men is outrageous in its impudent falsity. For if the political institutions of this country do not afford opportunity to every honest and intelligent son of toil, then the door of hope is forever closed against him. The anarchist is everywhere, not merely the enemy of system and of progress, but the deadly foe of liberty. For the anarchist himself, whether he preaches or practices his doctrines, we need not have one particle more concern than for any ordinary murderer. He is not the victim of social or political injustice. There are no wrongs to remedy in his case. The cause of his criminality is to be found in his own evil passions and in the evil conduct of those who urge him on, not in any failure by others or by the state to do justice to him or his. He is a malefactor and nothing else." Now, I say that in part because it comes in the United States on the heels of the 19th century, which saw a successive wave of an explosion of violence across Europe, launched by revolutionaries who were so extreme that they would take any measure and grant no quarter to their victims to achieve revolutionary ends. This is the nature of the people that we're dealing with today. And this is why escalation is imminent.
What are we going to do?
Well, it was just interesting listening to Cameron talk about the assassination of William McKinley, and that that reminded me of another assassination that took place. Where did it go? Here it is. That was the assassination of Huey Long. Huey Long was the governor of Louisiana, and I believe concurrently the senator for Louisiana. He was very big against the banks and the monopolies and the oil companies. And he was assassinated by a Jewish guy. And so when you think about it, I pulled up this list of assassinations in the United States, according to Wikipedia. We've got Abraham Lincoln, William McKinley, James Garfield, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. And it is interesting that almost all of those were involved with Jews.
Yes.
Emma Goldman, Cameron was talking about, anarchist person, she was Jewish. There's some really interesting stuff out there about John Wilkes Booth and his involvement with B'nai B'rith. Obviously, we know about the JFK assassination. If you don't, we did a whole episode on it. I think it's like episode 3 or something, episode 3 or 4. The Robert Kennedy assassination. Martin Luther King, Sam Parker has done a lot of really good stuff on that. So it is kind of interesting.
You can also add the assassinations in Russia.
Yeah. I mean, that was
Peter Stolypin by Dmitry Bogrov, and the assassination of a czar in the 19th century. And these were launched by a kind of sickness, a kind of radicalism that I just don't think people in the United States fully understand. There's a famous quote from Bakunin, who is considered the father, the patriarch of anarchism, and was far more extreme than Marx, just to give you a sense of his mentality. He said, the passion for destruction is also a creative passion. What does that sound like? Does that not sound like a number of these college kids who have been radicalized with this poison? And unfortunately, Dave, your demand for swift justice, for the legal department or the FBI or the Justice Department to take action against these people, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
And it's not going to happen because we, the ethnos, don't control our own government. We are the enemy, and we have been for some time. And so I think, Rebecca, your sense of where we're shifting intellectually and otherwise, particularly younger people that are seeing the political landscape, seeing how dangerous things are, how violent things are becoming. And remember, there were 58 people killed in Chicago last weekend. So as much as Charlie Kirk's death is a tragedy, and obviously we'll have to find out whether it was politically motivated or not, the point is the same, that we are in a violent country right now that lacks social cohesion, and we have a government that doesn't represent the national identity of the people. This is a very dangerous moment indeed, and I think far more dangerous than at any time in American history, because at least going into the Depression, remember, FDR was almost assassinated when he became president in the 1930s, and Reagan was almost assassinated in the 1980s, and there have been others. And those were at times of tremendous economic upheaval. Well, we have economic upheaval. We have the violence and the racial conflict that we had in the 1960s. And we have a government that has been subverted, undermined, and repurposed towards foreign ends, certainly not in our interests. So you add all of these things up, and it's hard to envision a future that's not going to escalate into more political violence. That being said, the acceptance of reality will enable us to strengthen, because then we can consolidate around the truth. And once we do that, once we let go of this fantasy of pluralism, that somehow we're going to take the moderate path, that we're going to stop by virtue of talking about these things and condemning them, that we're going to stop what's coming. We've got to let go of that fantasy so that we can accept the true nature of the problems that we're dealing with, and then we can organize to fight back. For the time being, I just don't think we're there yet. I think more damage, unfortunately, is coming our way.
But we sure are closer than we were on September 11th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember the narrative around September 11th, and nobody was questioning it. nobody knew what was going on, and everybody was like, all right, we have to have this war to deal with how our homeland has been invaded. And the questions that came up around it, it took a while. I hate Constantine, but this is a good tweet.
Yeah, no, this is, I mean, somebody sent this to me. I'll read a little bit. I hope I'm wrong, but tonight feels like some sort of invisible line has been crossed that we didn't even know was there. The last time I felt like this was 9/11, when it was clear without knowing the how and the what, but the world was about to change forever. Like the rules of the game had been permanently altered, and there was simply no going back to the innocent, peaceful past. I didn't feel like this when an attempt was made on President Trump's life. If I had to rationalize why I didn't, I guess it's because several U.S. presidents have been shot and even assassinated. Somehow it was within the realms of the possible, no matter how awful. But to murder a young father simply for doing debates and mobilizing young people to vote for a party that represents half of America, this is something else. Charlie's death is a tragedy for his wife, for his children, and his family. I'm praying for them tonight, but I fear his murder will be a tragedy for all of us. Yeah, I mean, it hits different. This is the video that I had seen earlier that kind of got to me, you know. You know? Gone. Not coming back. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but again, you know, and Dave, I know you're probably better versed in this than I am, but you have to go back to the 1960s.
Yeah.
You have to look at the leftist radical violence that student groups like Students for a Democratic Society, which eventually became the Weathermen, and they were listed as a domestic terrorist organization. What did they do? Well, 25 bombings in the 1970s. Bombings against the New York City Police Department, against the Capitol building, against the Pentagon, right? Against the State Department, against the California prison system. We have been through this before. Look at the assassinations that happened in 1968, right? When Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, MLK, and obviously before MLK, you had Malcolm X. It was a time of tremendous upheaval. Eventually, the Vietnam War ended. The economy got back on track, and we were still homogenous enough of a country, and the institutions of power still more or less represented us at that time. Those pillars of stability are gone. And so we've got to accept the fact that the violence in the inner cities, which has spread to unimaginable heights, right? And it's not just the violence, it's also the drug abuse. I was sent a video of Philadelphia earlier today, and it shows blocks upon blocks of people that are literal zombies, just keeled up because they're addicted to fentanyl. This is reality, and we have to deal with this. If we deal with it, if we accept reality, we can then begin to organize new political organizations that will challenge the evil opposition arrayed against us. And as Dave said, it is evil. These people will use political violence against us. And the connective tissue between what we're seeing in Israel with 19,000 children murdered in cold blood in Gaza by Zionism, and the anarchism, the radicalism of the left in the United States, don't think that those things are not related. All you have to do is go back and look at the Bolsheviks as soon as they took power in 1917. This is an old story, but Americans have been naive. We have denied it. And people like us have been dismissed. We've been told, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're overstating things, or immigration is really not that big of a deal. Look, those half-truths and lies, they're dying 1,000 deaths. And that's a very good thing. But I just fear that events like this Charlie Kirk tragedy, and again, I have no idea what the nature of it is. I fear that more of them are coming before the rest of the population really wakes up. I do think we're going to wake up, and I do think that we're on the path to reorganizing. And once we get there, we will solve these problems. But between now and then, we are in for a very difficult transition and adjustment. There's no question about it.
That's true. Although the 9/11 truther stuff has really picked up steam. Tucker's talking about it. It's all over. Actually, the Young Turks had an excellent take on it that I was surprised to see. It is mainstream, like typical truther topics, which we're going to be discussing in a little bit. But Did you want to play this? Did you have a clip? Or do you want to wait on this?
I've got clips. I figured we would transition to the 9/11 stuff.
Sure. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about.
But before we do, I just wanted to say that I think Cameron. Sorry, I think Cameron is right, and it's been funny, right? Because moving up here to Idaho and running for office, like I did twice, you get hit with the. Oh, you're the Aryan nations. You're the Aryan nations. Blah, 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 Richard Butler, Nazis, blah, 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 right? You hear this bullshit. And so that kind of put me into a deep dive mode where I'm like, I want to know exactly what was going on back then. I want to know where this group came from, who was in it, why were they doing it, blah, blah, blah. And I did like a massive deep dive, read like a dozen books, combed through the newspaper archives. And when you look at what was really going on in the 60s, it's like for every one group that was the Aryan nations or whatever, there were 20 that were leftists that were unabashedly killing people, blowing places up. And these Aryans or whatever, they were a reaction to this problem of leftist anarchist violence that came about.
Which has been omitted in history.
Totally a black hole. Memory hold. And so, I think Cameron is right. I think we're in a period of economic instability. We're in a period of political instability. Wars are going on all over the place. And I think the chickens are about to come home to roost. I think that we're going to be plunged into like the 1960s part 2. I think that's very possible. Yeah,
I totally agree.
Anyway.
And no matter who the shooter was, which we are going to keep you guys updated as we move through the September 11th segments, if new news comes to us. Is that redundant? New news?
Video about this. I just made a video about this on my channel. The extent to which 9/11 was this psychical earthquake, and perhaps this event with Charlie Kirk is similar. I don't know. Certainly, Charlie Kirk was far from an extreme character. If anything, he had sort of carved out this moderate space. But I think the larger issue is that there is an implicit social contract that binds society together. And for those of us that have been at the vanguard of calling attention to the very aggressive decline of the national identity of the United States, the homogeneity that we once had, the concept of a white country, of a Christian country, of a country that's unified by the same language, the same culture, the same history, the same faith, all of these things that have been dismissed. And they've been dismissed by mainstream political movements, figures for a long time. I think since the 1960s, in an effort to convince us that that was in the best interest of social harmony, that was the best way to maintain the social contract. And the social contract was essentially, look, we are now in a pluralist society. Whatever America was before the 1960s was invalid. It was illegitimate. It was certainly incomplete. This is their view. And now we were in a new age. And so we had to be tolerant. We had to accommodate. We had to bend over backwards. We had to embrace DEI. We had to pay more in tax, right? We needed government intervention so that they could rehabilitate the inner cities and help these various ethnic groups. We needed specific holidays to ingratiate various groups into the United States. And that social contract was always premised on the white population basically being able to continue to live its life as if nothing had changed. That's over now. It's over. The white population is, I think, universally affected, not just by the violence in the cities or living paycheck to paycheck, but now with the political violence directed at moderate figures like Charlie Kirk, at the very, I think, the very visceral sense that our politics are not safe anymore. And they're not.
Right.
They're not safe. So that social contract has collapsed. And I think it started to break in 9/11.
Yes, I agree. And I don't think that this is going to be, I am a little bit worried about a chilling effect, but I think that largely this is going to be a mobilizing event. I mean, when Constantine talks about how things feel different, that's what mobilizes people. The air is different. The feeling surrounding what we are allowed to talk about and what we're not allowed to talk about, that is different. And Americans, they find that detestable. They're disgusted by the confines of those things. So perhaps you guys are right. I did want to take turns so we could discuss what happened on September 11th, how we remember September 11th. I was were we in the 6th grade?
I was in 7th grade.
And then I must have been in the 7th grade too.
Do you graduate in 07?
06.
Well, then that's not possible. I graduated 07.
Maybe I was in the 8th grade. I don't know.
2001.
It was a half day. I was in middle school. That's what I remember. And I had no concept of international politics. I didn't know who our enemy was. I was just enjoying my childhood. And then this thing happened. And I remember thinking like, well, who was our enemy? Is it Russians? Is it Russians? And so I was asking one of my teachers because they weren't letting us watch the news. It was a bizarre thing. They wanted to protect us. I'm like, I'm just going to go home and watch the news. Like, what are you guys doing? So eventually they let us watch the news a little bit. And I had asked my teachers, this was after Building 7. I had asked my teacher at the time, like, what is going to happen to all of the documents and everything, all the important stuff that was in that building. And, I was upset about the loss of human life, but I remember that she very severely chastised me for being concerned about the logistical elements of the attack. But in hindsight, for a 13-year-old, I think that that's a pretty good question. We are going to talk about documents being destroyed in Tower 7. So I'm kind of looking back at that. I'm like, all right, that's a little bit of a sociopathic take, but also I was on the right track thinking about how this was going to affect us logistically and what was being covered up and what was being destroyed. So maybe I was on that wavelength of being a truther. Cameron, where were you?
Yeah, so I was in Virginia. I was a senior in high school, and I was somewhat directly affected by it because my mom worked across from the Pentagon, and she was there when the morning that it hit. What I remember is that I think I was in a government class. I don't know. I had this funny Irish teacher who'd always spike his morning coffee with vodka. You could sort of smell it on the guy. And so he was very relaxed all the time. He was always in a good mood. But that morning, out of the blue, everything changed. And somebody had come we were outside in a trailer. I don't know if you guys had those in high school, but we had capacity problems. So they built these classrooms outside. And so we were sitting in a trailer, and somebody came in and mouthed a couple things to the teacher. I couldn't understand what they were saying. And then all of a sudden, his face completely changed. He got very serious, very solemn. And then he said the trade towers had been attacked, and he immediately went and got a TV. I think there was a TV in the trailer, if I remember correctly. And he turned the news on. And at that time, we obviously had no idea what was going on. But I watched, like everybody else, I suppose, the rest of the event unfold that morning. And then I think midday, they let us go. And my mom, who I didn't hear from until later, we didn't have cell phones quite yet. She was stuck across the street from the Pentagon when it was struck, because the whole place was locked down. It was just complete pandemonium. Eventually, she was able to come back to the house, I want to say, that evening, and she had heard a very loud boom, as you can imagine, being a few blocks away. And I think people, they gave various descriptions of what had happened, but it was such a surreal event. It happened so quickly that there wasn't panic as much as disbelief. It was something that just was indigestible in that particular moment. So people, they panicked. Once it started to settle in, there was a very real sense of unease, right? A very real sense of fear that swept across everybody. Then I started getting calls from people that I knew all over the country asking me if I was okay. And then obviously we heard more about the attack. But I lived in a cul-de-sac that was not all that far from the CIA. And so there was a lot of activity happening, obviously. And there were various ambassadors that lived in the neighborhood that I was in as well. And one of them was, he wasn't an ambassador, but he worked for the Saudi embassy. And I think he was a colonel in the Saudi army. And their family was gone in 2 or 3 days. They had a nice family home right across the street, and all of a sudden, boom, they were gone. So there are a lot of memories that I have from that period of time. But what I will say is that there was a permutation. There was a very visceral sense that the world had changed, and that whatever the 90s was about, that was over.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was in, I guess it might have been 6th grade.
You must have been in 7th grade.
Might have been 6th. I don't know. I can't remember. Dad, text me. Mom, if you're watching, text me. Let me know what grade I was in. I can't remember. But I was in Pennsylvania, going to a Christian school. And what I remember was the teacher getting called out of the room into the hallway. And she came back in and was very flustered. But she continued teaching the class. And everybody was like, well, what's this? What's going on here? And then a second time, the principal or whatever came out, knocked on the door, and the teacher, these flies.
I know.
I'm going to kill these flies. I swear. If I have to stop the show and get the fly swatter.
No, just ignore them. It's fine.
I can't do it. Dang
you can
it.
do it. You
I
can
tried.
do it.
So anyway, they come back the second time, and then the teacher says, "Okay, something has happened. The World Trade Centers have been hit, and it doesn't look good, but everything will be fine. We're going to have a half day or something like that." And she kept teaching the class. Then a third time, the principal comes after, was it Flight 93 that went down in Pennsylvania?
Yes. Yeah.
And at this point, they took everybody out of every single classroom, and we went to the multipurpose room and hid under tables until our parents came and picked us up.
Come on.
We were in Pennsylvania.
It's a huge state.
We didn't know what was going on. They thought maybe there was a problem with like the flight computers, and these flights are just falling out of the sky.
Right.
There's an airport, between here and Wilkes-Barre. Maybe one of them will, so I don't know. I mean, it was very, very like, nuclear duck and cover drill type of thing. But yeah. And that was it. And so then, my mom came and picked me up from school, but then we had just moved to Pennsylvania when that happened. We didn't have cable yet. And this was like before the internet, before all of that kind of stuff had happened. So I literally wanted to see what had happened, and we didn't have a TV. So I just went out alone back when you could do that in Bloomsburg before, the college moved all these black people into town. But I went out door to door, and I just went knocking on my neighbors' doors, just like, "Hi, I'm your new neighbor from over there.
Can I watch your TV?
Do you mind if I turn on your TV for a bit?" And I finally, it was the Gilbert's house actually. And,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert. But yeah, they let me come in, and I just remember watching the video over and over of the plane going into the building and just being like, holy crap.
There's some national trauma there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't skeptical. I really took the narrative at face value until I started moving into the sphere. And honestly, I never really researched it in depth until recently, because about 5 years ago, all these people I trusted were like, "Oh, well, 9/11, that this was Mossad." And I was kind of like, that tracks. And then I just didn't really look into it very much. But from what I can tell, because I watched many truther documentaries this week, it seems like what brings people into the fold of 9/11 conspiracy theories is Building 7. It's all about Building 7. But we should talk about some other things first. What was the clip you were prepping?
Well, this was, just because I think it is worth playing. This is from Devin Stack's Manhattan on 9/11 in real time. I kind of have like a little bit of like a ritual that I do every year. And I wake up, and then I start my day with this, which is probably
every September 11th you do this.
Probably not healthy to do, but it is interesting.
One thing, Dave, just before you play that I did want to say is that the high school that I went to, which was in McLean, had a lot of very high profile people that worked for the government. Colin Powell lived a few neighborhoods away. Dick Cheney, a lot of people like that lived in very close proximity to me. And I was able to see up close and personal how the federal government responded to a lot of this. I mean, it's sort of a behind the scenes look to some degree. But I also went to a high school that was extremely international. I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but white Americans were a minority. If we were 50%, we were certainly if we were not 50%, we were certainly a minority. And so the school was extremely tribalized, right? You had Lebanese, you had Palestinians, you had Bolivians, we had people from Malaysia, we had people from Brunei. I mean, it was quite the smorgasbord. But what I remember distinctly is that after that event happened, what I did not experience, nor did I sense, was any degree of coalescence. You know, the people were divided before.
Right.
The event did not bring us together. You know, now I sort of intuitively knew that already, because you'd walk into the lunchroom at this school and people would naturally self-segregate. So that was quite normal. You know, I was never under the illusion that such a thing would not be the case. But I do remember after 9/11 happened, things became more tense. There was not some broader sense of solidarity that brought us together at all. And I do think that's a very important note, because there is this assertion made by people like Charlie Kirk, among others, that some kind of a major event, I think Samuel Huntington said this in his last book, that some kind of a geopolitical event or some kind of major crisis would unify the country together. And ladies and gentlemen, I do not believe that that is going to happen, because we are so divided, because the social cohesion that we used to have, those commonalities that we've addressed on this show many, many times, those are gone. And so events like 9/11, they're not going to bring us together. They're going to exacerbate the underlying fragmentation that's already there. And I saw that firsthand when 9/11 happened, and I never forgot that. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this clip was just, it's one of these things, like basically nobody has video of the first plane, right? Because like, other than a certain group of people that we will be talking about that were in fact staked out with cameras waiting.
Why?
Waiting to see the towers get hit with planes. Basically, nobody else on Earth had any clue that anything was going to be happening that day. So there are very few, I think only one video of the first plane hitting the towers. And so that's what this is. Just going to play it real quick. This was a documentary that was being filmed of New York firefighters. Anyway,
and I remember the initial instinct of everybody was to think that it was accidental.
Right.
Until the second one.
There was a lot of confusion, you know. There was a lot of confusion because it's like, you know, at first you're thinking, oh, well, maybe it was just like a Cessna or something, like a plane hit the World Trade Center. Okay, like what? Like a single person plane or something like this? I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams thought it would be a jetliner, let alone two of them.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Let's talk a little bit about what they knew and who knew it. Can you pull up this Telegraph article? I hope it's not behind a paywall. I was able to open it. It's one. All right. So Israeli art students with full World Trade Center access under Marvin Bush's security. Let me read a few things from this. Up to 200 young Israelis, some of them former members of military intelligence units, have been arrested in America in the past year, a leaked government report disclosed yesterday. When was this? I think this was from early 2000s. I'm not entirely sure.
Hold on, I'm getting it up.
Did it ask you to like name a million things that are, I hate when they do that. Some had used cover stories to gain access to sensitive government buildings and the homes of American officials. The report said the actions of some of the Israelis, most of whom had outstayed their tourist visas, quote, may well be an organized intelligence gathering activity. None of the Israelis, about 140 of whom are believed to have been detained before the September 11th attack, has been charged and most have been deported, according to the U.S. government. And we do have a video with a little bit of information that's going to be clipped to about the background of these art students. Diabolical.
Let's see here. Boop-a-doop. All out of whack today.
The leaders of the Israeli DA groups included Itay Simon, arrested on April 14, 2001 in Irving, Texas, recently discharged from the Israeli army, where he had done classified work for the Israeli military. You know, it's interesting, these backgrounds, but boy, you would think that, you know, they wouldn't be, you know, delving into this very menial job. A lot of these art students had, you know, really important positions in the Israeli military. Incredible. Or intelligence, Israeli intelligence. Mr. Simon coordinated recruiting for the groups and served as an intermediary between 5 individuals in Israel and the U.S. operation. Another leader was Michael Kalmanovic, who rented a number of apartments in Irving, Texas, occupied by 25 Israelis. Mr. Kalmanovic was a recently discharged electronic intercept operator for the Israeli military. As stated in the DEA report, traveling about the United States to sell paintings seemed not to fit the background of many of these individuals in question. And that's right. I mean, it's incredible that, you know, when you find out the backgrounds of these people, that the United States government had to have known what was going on at this point, because the FBI certainly did, and so did INS. And the DEA, who wrote the report, which is what these memorandum is basically based off from, basically said that this was the largest foreign intelligence service operation ever constructed on U.S. soil.
Man. And if that does not convince you, I guess we should talk about the dancing Israelis. I feel like even mentioning this, everyone's like, yeah, we already know.
No,
maybe some people don't know, though.
It has been 24 years, and some people still don't know about the dancing Israelis.
It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed 3 men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me. You know, they didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News, during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence. At the FBI, that set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men? What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day? They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices.
2 SUVs were filled up with between 9 and 12 boxes and computers.
Not long after the arrests, the offices of Urban Moving were simply abandoned. Almost everything was left behind. In jail, the 5 Israelis were repeatedly interrogated and given lie detector tests. Stephen Gordon was their American lawyer.
They were asked questions if they had ever been approached by or hired by any non-United States intelligence community.
While there is still some debate among American intelligence officials, many investigators believe some of the men were part of an Israeli operation aimed at monitoring radical Islamic charities that support groups like Hamas, something lawyers for the 5 men and the Israeli government strongly deny.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
Now, how would they document the event if they didn't know about the event? Also, what they failed to mention in that is that traces of explosives were found in the van. And so the FBI deported them unceremoniously after 71 days, and they're just living their lives. Just go about their business. This is really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of 9/11 conspiracy theories. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there's also this thing that happened. There was a art installation at the World Trade Centers just in the weeks leading up to 9/11.
Is this the B thing?
Yeah. And so there were these boxes that were BB, it was a BB-19 or something like that, which is a kind of explosive. And it's just very interesting that the place where E-Team, which was this Israeli art team, was in these two buildings are precisely where they got hit by the planes. That's just very odd.
What a coincidence.
There's a lot of other stuff out there that I don't have because the Charlie Kirk thing has disrupted my flow. But yeah.
Should we talk about the CIA and FBI ops? Can you pull up 4 for me? So this is ex-FBI agent accuses top CIA, FBI officials of a cover-up. I think it's Donald, I don't want to butcher this, Canestraro, but I wanted to read a little bit from this. This document, nevertheless remarkable for its account supporting the veracity of long public yet highly disturbing allegations that top CIA officials, including Director George Tenet, intentionally withheld vital intelligence from the FBI that might have prevented the September 11th attacks on New York and Washington, specifically that known operatives and future hijackers Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midar had entered the U.S. in L.A. shortly after attending an al-Qaeda summit meeting in Kuala Lumpur earlier in January 2000. The new accounts, mostly obtained during interviews in 2016, 2018, flesh out that narrative. They also support the ominous theory never fully explored by either the 9/11 Commission or Congress, that the CIA kept silent because it was secretly working hand in glove with Saudi Arabian counterpart to recruit Hazmi and Midar as informants. So FBI ordered stand downs. Ex-agents believe this protected a CIA-Saudi false flag recruitment op, and at the FBI suppression of Saudi probes and false testimonies to Congress. So they obviously had knowledge, had knowledge that this was going to happen, and they were trying to protect their own assets and their own interests.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's some more stuff on the dancing Israelis now that I got it up. According to page 36 of the 2005 FBI report on 9/11, the dancing Israelis, it mentions that so at Urban Moving Systems, right, there were like the Israelis, and then there were the real people that they like hired to like work.
Like actual movers.
To actually like operate the front organization.
Yeah.
And so apparently one of the workers overheard one of the Israelis say, quote, "Give us 20 years and we'll take over your media and destroy your country."
Wow.
Wow. Geez, it's been 24 years. Look at the time. Isn't that interesting? And then we've also got the, somewhere in here, where is it? Where did it just go? Did it delete? What?
Jump off the page?
Yeah. Oh, there it is. No, there it is. These are the original photographs, the redacted photographs from the FBI of the dancing Israelis. So just so you get more of an understanding, in case for whatever reason in 2024 you've like never heard of this stuff before.
Right. We should talk about some of the financial incentives too. That's important.
Yes.
Let's talk about Larry Silverstein.
Can you start with that? I'm pretty sure that I've got like a little video.
Okay. So Larry Silverstein's 2001 World Trade Center lease doubled insurance for terrorism, $3.55 billion, claiming $7.1 billion for 2 attacks, settling at $4.55 billion. He had ties to Netanyahu, links to the Greenberg family. Silverstein's $3.2 billion lease, putting down $14 million, and it allowed rebuild and expansion and this multi-billion-dollar profit, which, you know, kind of explains the demolition of Tower 7. Can you believe that? He pocketed $4.5 billion.
If we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I've got a little video that will explain this entire thing from the perspective of Larry Silverstein.
Great.
So let's take a quick look at this.
$1.5 billion.
Well, now that's just insane.
These vultures are trying to pluck my eyes out.
Have you talked to Rudy yet?
Rudy was the one who told me.
That's the price. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's 1.5. It's just what it is.
This is just, when big things move, all parties have to be mutually, Well, it goes without saying, somebody is incredibly miffed you made that deal.
Miffed? My guys told me 150 million tops. If I can't get that shit out of those walls for less than 1.5 billion, I'm fakakta. You understand? I never should have listened to you.
I never told you to buy 2 towers of Babel filled with asbestos. Nothing in New York real estate is that easy. You weren't buying a deli.
I don't have 1.5. I need that shit out of the walls, or I need those buildings
Which
gone.
I told you is never going to happen. The demolition will probably cost more than it did to build the thing.
See? Fakakta. At this point, it costs less to get someone to fly fucking planes into the building and collect the insurance.
For that, you'd need terrorism insurance.
Oh my gosh, who made this?
I'll call you back. Deborah.
I'm right
Chris
here,
Cover.
sir.
Oh, I need you to find out what kind of terrorism insurance we've got on those piece of shit towers.
Mr. Vice President, I've got an interesting idea I'd like to propose to you.
I hope this has a billion views.
False flag operation.
Get him whatever he wants. I just want him to feel like he's part of the team. Just pull it already.
Oh, good lord.
And then when France doesn't join, we're going to call them Freedom Fries.
So I found this passport over there. It's kind of burnt up, but not too bad considering it came from a plane crash. Am I right? And not for nothing, but I already checked it, and it's a Saudi Arabian guy. It's definitely probably one of the terrorists, you know, because, well, I mean, come on here.
Yeah, I mean, how would that possibly have survived? They're talking about like molten aluminum and all this stuff, and they're like, "Whoa, hurdy-dur, look at this totally preserved piece of paper."
So that is Ocean's 9/11 coming to a theater near you soon. Probably not.
So who else benefited? Let's see. Okay. Beyond Israel, private gains included missing World Trade Center gold. That's 800 million unrecovered. 2.3 trillion in Pentagon funds vanished pre 9/11. Analysts tracking it died in the Pentagon strike. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
I actually think, where's that? Oh, well. Oh, no. Yeah, here it is. I've got the clip. Would you look at that? I've got the clip, like, basically ready to go.
Just basically. Oh, there it is, yeah.
Let's see.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Oops.
$2.3 trillion in transactions.
That
just
was
absent.
September 10th. 2001, the day before 9/11. Oops, we lost $2.4 trillion.
And how much money was that in today? I mean,
oh yeah.
What is that, like?
A lot.
40 trillion. I have no idea what inflation has been since then. But yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanical problems at the event. This is my favorite part because it's just so difficult to refute. Okay, so we have this video. Let's go to 6. There actually have been many events that are similar to this in terms of fire with similar buildings, and they tend not to. Actually, I don't think that there's been a single building that has ever fallen in this manner. I heard Piers Morgan bring up a building in Tehran. Can you refute that?
What? No. There was I remember there was a building in England, and there was another building elsewhere.
He said that recently a building in Tehran has fallen in the same way as Building 7 just from fire.
No, it's not possible.
I couldn't find any evidence from that.
It's not possible.
So this is 1237 to 1423.
Let's go.
High-rise fires are more common than I thought. I found hundreds of them. According to a 2011 report by the National Fire Protection Association, there are an average of 110 fires each year in buildings over 13 stories tall. According to the report, between 2005 and 2009, there were 550 high-rise fires. Of course, there are many more all throughout history, but let's talk about some of the more startling ones. Sao Paulo, Brazil, the Joelma building, 1974. Sparked by an electrical fire, the residential building burned twice as long as the Twin Towers, yet it stood. The underlying structure wasn't even weakened. In fact, it's still in use today. The MGM Grand, which is now Bally's in Las Vegas, Nevada, caught fire in 1980, killing 85 people. It's had a few facelifts and ownership changes, but the structure underneath was never compromised. It's still in use today. Los Angeles, California, 1988. What was then called the First Interstate Bank building burned for 3.5 hours. No structural failure at all. In fact, an insurance company moved in, and today it's known as the Aon Center. In 2004, the Parque Central building in Caracas, Venezuela, the country's tallest building, burned for 17 hours. The facade was repaired, and it is in use today. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, One Meridian Plaza, 1991, burned for 18 hours. It stood. Beijing, China, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, burned for 6 hours in 2009. It stood. Chechnya's tallest building burned for 7 hours in April 2013. It stood. Dubai, Moscow, Zurich, and on and on. I was starting to see a trend. Fires don't melt steel or cause buildings to collapse. The World Trade Center...
All right.
Oh, in today's money, that's $4.2 trillion. That's it?
It doubled.
Yeah, but I expected the inflation rate in the interim to have been much higher than that.
So that means that a dollar... Fucked up, dude. That means a dollar in 2001 is worth 50 cents today.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked.
So anyway, plane impacts.
Pardon my French. I know a lot of a lot of Catholics are watching this. They're constantly scandalized by my language. I apologize. I'll work on it.
There was an explosion below the impact zone as well. I saw a lot of people talking about impossible plane speeds and behaviors. We can't get into that too much, but apparently the pilots of these jets could not possibly have done these maneuvers. They just didn't have the skills. Much more experienced pilots were like, no way, I couldn't do that.
Right.
What is this?
I don't know. I thought this was a clip that you had lined up.
This is the firefighters talking about bombs going off in the lobby, I think, of World Trade Center 1.
There was an explosion. We was in the lobby and the third explosion, the whole lobby collapsed on us.
What was it like? What was it like?
Horrible.
It's like hell. You don't want to know.
The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Was that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the planet probably?
Yeah, definitely secondary explosion. Because we was inside waiting to go upstairs. And on the way upstairs, the whole fucking plane blew. And we just collapsed on everybody inside the lobby.
Similar to the first tower coming down, secondary?
I don't know about the first one, but I know the second one, it was terrible. Then there was a third one, too, after that one.
Third explosion after that?
Yes, sir. Everybody was inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. And they just let loose. Everything just let loose inside the building.
So what you told me is that there was the plane or whatever hit the building, then the secondary explosion.
It was like 3 explosions after
You can
that.
cut this.
We came in after the fire.
Right.
We came when the fire was
There
going
is
on
so
already.
much
We
witness
was in the
reporting
staging area
on
inside.
hearing explosions.
Yes.
Just absolutely everywhere. You can find these on your own time, audience, but so many people were like, I'm sure that what I heard was not an impact, that it was an explosion. People with real credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the better evidence of this is that the media was obviously warned. Now, I don't know the logistics of this. Like, were people calling news organizations to try to help people get out of the blast zones? I don't really know why they would inform the media, but there have been so many clips of media reporting without knowing that Building 7 is going to come down. And then they're like, oh, look, it's coming down right now. I think this is CNN.
Yes. Let's see. This should be goodish.
We had heard reports that the building was unstable and that it eventually would either come down on its own or it would be taken down.
And we were in a building in which we were trapped for about 10-15 minutes. And we set up headquarters at 75 Barclay Street, which was right there with the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, the head of emergency management. And we were operating out of there when we were told that the World Trade Center was going to collapse. The World Trade Center was going to collapse. It was going to collapse. It was going to collapse.
But it was the media's pre-knowledge of Building 7's fall that was much more telling. Several news outlets around the world reported the collapse of Building 7 long before it happened. I listened closely to these segments. Considering Building 7 wasn't hit by an airplane and no high-rise has ever collapsed because of fire, how was it that all these different news agencies reported it before it happened? How can anyone report there has been an improbable accident before the accident happens?
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center
There was a whole building in between.
One of the other buildings, Building 7, in the World Trade Center complex is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing.
That has structural damage as well. We saw a lot of glass broken out and a corner of the building appeared to be in distress, and there's concern that there might actually be another collapse of that building.
We are getting word from New York right now that another building has collapsed. Is that smoke coming from this third collapse? Okay, that is what we're understanding, which makes sense because it looks like the sun is going down. But hoping that enough people have cleared out of downtown Manhattan,
Hello.
so that perhaps it wasn't as full as it might be normally around 5:30 on a Tuesday.
That information, of course, take a look at the right-hand side of the screen.
All right, that's good.
It's going down right now.
There it is.
Yep.
Went down.
Brown building, the tall one, is number 7 World Trade Center. Heard several reports from several different officers now that is the building that is going to go down next.
You can cut.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Sorry about that, guys. I spaced.
So were they just calling media? Or Cameron, how do you think that they got this information? Why would they inform the media of this?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. There's so much in 9/11, and bear in mind that it's not just the nature of the event itself, which is huge, but if there's any piece of any of these stories that falls apart, then the whole narrative, the whole construct gives, and you have to launch a new investigation. And so the burden of proof really lies on the government, right, to disprove a lot of what we're saying. I would say a few things. I looked up before we did this show just some of the components of 9/11 that are very, very strange, right? Obviously, you have the engineering component. So there's a group called the Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. They have basically said that the nature of the collapse of both of the buildings and Building 7 is physically impossible. Okay, the nature of the piloting, which Rebecca said a moment ago, that the way you would have to actually fly these aircraft, not just to hit the World Trade Towers, but also the Pentagon, that's virtually impossible. There's a whistleblower named Captain Dan Hanley, who talked about pilots trying to replicate what was done in flight simulators, and they couldn't do it. Then there's problems with the wreckage, right? Particularly outside the Pentagon, where there doesn't appear to be the residue of a plane. Then there's problems with the cell phone messages that were left. There's problems with how it was reported, as you alluded to a moment ago. Look, I don't, exactly know what happened, but obviously, there's a very famous document called Operation Northwood. And Operation Northwood goes back to 1962. I'm sure a lot of you know it very well. It's declassified. But this was a document that was produced by the CIA, and it was an effort to create a false flag so that we could go to war with Cuba. And these are the components of that false flag. It was, number one, you needed a justifying context or the creation of some kind of trigger event that would grab everybody's attention. The second is you'd have to stage an attack with real casualties. The third is you need some kind of a misdirection or elaborate deception. The fourth is you would have to use symbology, right? Pick sensitive targets that are recognizable universally or to a large group of people. You need some kind of government coordination and obviously secrecy. And then the ultimate goal would be some kind of desired response.
Wow, they hit every note, didn't they?
To those components, I would add these. And before I mention my components, I would say I tend not to be very conspiratorial, right? I don't buy a lot of conspiracies most of the time because they're vague, right? You'll hear a lot of people, particularly on the right, say things like, well, the elites want to take our freedom. What does that mean? That's vague. It's imprecise. To whom are they referring? What is their monetary gain? How will they achieve these various things? So I, by nature, am very skeptical. That being said, you need these components in addition to the false flag pillars that I just went through. You need a motivation, okay? What's the motivation? Why do this? How do you benefit? More on that in a moment. Second, you need a capacity. Again, if people are going to talk about FEMA camps or they're going to talk about imminent gulags, again, where's capacity? How are you going to do that logistically? Where's the paramilitary force? What are the governmental mechanisms that you're going to use to do that? Be specific. Third, expressed vision or intent. So is there evidence, circumstantially or otherwise, that said event is needed or could be used to springboard a particular policy response or action. And then finally, follow through, right? So after these components are there, the motivation, the capacity, right, the expressed content, is there actual follow through? Well, if you look at it from that vantage point, it seems hard to imagine that 9/11 was anything else except some kind of false flag event. Now, as I said, I can't envision all the details. It's just too big. But I think what it does suggest, which is similar to what the Kennedy assassination suggested, and that is that there is a systemic collusion, corruption across the government of the United States that conspired to do something horrible to the American people, and almost certainly in collusion with a foreign power that seems to have had an interest in embroiling the United States in foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East, which we then followed through on executing, specifically against Iraq, which was a country that we ultimately destroyed and destabilized and undermined stability across the entire region. So if you start from those basic questions and facts, it seems to be like there was some kind of a coordination. Now, as to the media, look, the problem with what I'm saying is that the scale is just hard to imagine. How could you possibly pull off a conspiracy on that scale? You would have to have control over various government agencies, or at least people in positions of authority over them that could execute your will. You would have to have some semblance of influence in the mainstream press. Again, you see where I'm going with all of this. Even said it was muddled. I'm amazed, frankly, that they got away with it as long as they did. Whatever the nature of the conspiracy was, they did get away with it until now, I think. I think the truth is finally beginning to come out. So the answer to your question, Rebecca, is I don't exactly know what the media was trying to explain, but I do think that the most compelling explanation I've heard, and I read this in a comment earlier, is that the most insane conspiracy theory of 9/11 is the official government narrative. I don't think there's any question about that. Some kind of conspiracy on a grand scale happened on that day. It wasn't just about getting us into wars in the Middle East. There were also financial crimes. There were also cover-ups at the Pentagon. But there was some broader coordination. And I think that what we've talked about on this program just scratches the surface. I think it goes even deeper than the obvious causes, the obvious beneficiaries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to play it just when Cameron was talking about the scale. Excuse me. When Cameron was talking about the scale of this thing, it reminded me of a clip that I had just seen recently of Barbara Walters. So let's play that real quick. Let's see.
Convince Hezbollah to buy this.
Not Barbara,
well,
it's Leslie
obviously,
Jones.
they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from? Or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. Shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
So,
but that's quite the admission. Why would they allow that on 60 Minutes? And Leslie Stahl's Jewish.
Was that right? Did I say Barbara Walters?
Yeah, she's also Jewish.
Leslie Stahl. Well, so, wow. Jeez, I wonder what's going on there. Why would they let him say that? I mean, because they were
why
bragging.
Are they publicizing this?
They were bragging.
But they want us to know.
This was about Hezbollah. I'm saying that if what he is saying is true about the pager attack, then why is it impossible that Israel had something to do with 9/11? And I was just looking at where did that go? Hello, McFly. Here it is. This article about Odigo. So I think we've mentioned this on the show before. I think a lot of people miss this, but it happened as well. Odigo was kind of like, do you guys remember ICQ? Am I too old?
You're very old.
AIM, right? Remember AIM and ICQ?
Oh, yeah.
There was another company called Odigo. And Odigo was an instant messaging service. Its headquarters was based in the World Trade Centers. And hours before the Twin Towers attack, Jewish employees of Odigo received messages warning them not to come into work that day.
And we can corroborate this. We know this is true.
This is a Haaretz article. That is an Israeli news source corroborating that this happened. So Jews were warned, don't come into work. By the way, Larry Silverstein didn't go into work that day. Howard Lutnick, whose company, Cantor Fitzgerald, was up there where the planes hit, he didn't go to work that day
what
either.
A surprise.
His brother did. His brother's dead.
Let's play clip 11. So this is how they knew that it was going to change the world. This is Ehud Barak, chief architect of 9/11, and he's talking with the BBC like an hour after the planes hit. We can play this whole thing.
Also, Ehud Barak, not just an architect of 9/11, former prime minister of Israel and Epstein associate, photographed several times outside of Epstein's apartment.
We've played clips of him before, I think.
Right, that's the view from the Palestinian side. Joining me now here in the BBC World studio is the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who's in London at the moment. Mr. Barak, welcome to BBC World. First, your reaction, having heard what's happened. At least 4 planes have been hijacked, and there may be more.
The world will not be the same from today on. I don't know who is responsible. I believe we will know in 12 hours. Bin Laden sits in Afghanistan. There is a source of
who else
terror.
do you identify, though? Because we're not saying he's responsible for this necessarily.
No, we don't say that he's responsible. Every simple step, crossing borders or going on a plane or on a ship, will become more complicated. It's a time to launch a operational, concrete war against terror, even if it takes certain pains from the routine activities of our normal society. This is the time to deploy a globally concerted effort led by the United States, the UK, Europe, and Russia against all sources of terror. Consistently, along 6 or 10 years, Iran, Iraq, Libya, North Korea. This is the only way.
What does that sound like?
Without this clarity of purpose, there will be no world order, no world.
It sounds like the clean break memo.
It sounds like the clean break memo.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds like.
So I wanted to end in a discussion about why would they do this? Cameron touched on this a little bit. I mean, it's my opinion that the root of this, the heart of this, outside of the obvious financial incentives, was to create this massive sympathy for Israeli causes over the subsequent 2 decades. And I think it's been very successful in that.
By the way, my mom texted me back.
What'd you say?
That's Leslie Stahl.
See?
I was in 7th grade. When that
You're in 7th grade. So I wanted you guys to talk a little bit about what the widespread implications of this were, what the true motivations were outside of the financial incentives. Cameron, you discussed that a little bit, but if you could elaborate on that.
Well, I think, sadly, Ehud Barak was correct. As soon as that event happened, the world absolutely changed. It did. We were in GWAT, a global war on terrorism. I was in the military from 2002 forward, and it was very definitely the entire center, the myopic focus of everybody that was in uniform at the time. I mean, I remember coming back from, from summer leave, and I think it was 2005, and the superintendent of the Naval Academy typically gave a speech, and before he spoke that year, I think it was 05, it may have been 04, what did he play? He played images of 9/11. And that led right into his speech, in which he said, remember why you're here. Remember what you're doing. Everybody remembers Pat Tillman, who was, I think he was a professional football player. He resigned and then joined the military because of patriotism. And there was a sort of reactionary patriotic fervor in I would say 2 or 3 years following 9/11. It also then, obviously, as you said, Rebecca, we plunged into these wars overseas, both in Afghanistan initially, then Iraq, and there were several attempts to expand wars beyond. Right, there was a famous essay article that was published by Seymour Hersh arguing that the Bush administration was going to knock out Saddam Hussein, and once that was done, then move into Syria and then move into Iran, all of the neighboring countries. And I think that's what the neoconservatives, people like Paul Wolfowitz, Doug Feith, Richard Pearl, among many others, that's what they were all about. There was a book that was released around the same time called Rise of the Vulcans by Thomas Mann. I don't know if you ever read that, Dave, but it was all about this new cohort of people, the overwhelming majority of whom were neoconservatives, and they had occupied various parts of the government, specifically in the national security apparatus, inside the Pentagon. And they were resolute that the United States was going to war, basically, against the whole world. Remember the axis of evil, right? All of that emanated from that particular period of time. And then, of course, you got the Patriot Act and the surveillance state layered on top of everything else. I remember going to the airports before 9/11 and then after 9/11. So everything had changed. However, and again, this is a recurring theme on this program, 9/11, I think it started to fizzle within a few years of that event happening. People did start to question what was happening. And I remember distinctly in 2005, I think it was 2005, when Loose Change came out, which was a documentary, if you haven't seen it, that was raising questions about the nature of 9/11. And that documentary had a big impact on me and others, because I was hearing all kinds of things from people in Iraq and elsewhere about what the war was really about. And it had nothing to do with terrorism. And a lot of people that were doing deployment after deployment, some people were getting blown up by IEDs. It didn't really understand what the hell was going on. And remember the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein supposedly had. That narrative fell apart. And the Saddam Hussein connection to Al-Qaeda, which was advanced, I think, by Doug Feith inside the Pentagon, that narrative fell apart. And then all of a sudden, people started to question the narrative itself. And I think today it's fair to say that a very large minority, if not a majority, of Americans don't believe the official story about 9/11 at all. In other words, that may have been the beginning of the end of legitimacy for the federal government as we understand it. COVID may have pushed it over the limit. So I don't think it had the desired effect. Though it did a lot of damage, we spent trillions of dollars, wasted trillions of dollars. We lost tens of thousands of people. Either they were killed or they were psychologically disturbed. And millions of people paid a very dear consequence in the Middle East. They were either forced to leave their homes, they were imprisoned illegally. And yeah, it seems all at the behest of a foreign power that is now, incidentally, demanding that we repeat the process and plunge into yet another war, this time against Iran.
Yep.
Yeah. What?
Why? Why do you think this happened?
Why do I think it happened?
Yeah. Why do you think that they...
9/11? Well, I think 9/11 happened because of Israel. Like, it's because of the Jews, straight up. Like, I don't know, a friend of mine, but Father Maudsley, he's been on this program. He actually like posted today about this, and it got flagged, like, hate speech or whatever. But
I'm asking about their broader motivation.
The efficient cause of 9/11 was the Jews. So, I mean, yeah, it's, I mean, I don't necessarily entirely agree with Cameron that it wasn't what they, to a certain extent I do, to a certain extent I don't. So, I mean, I do think they got what they wanted out of 9/11, right? They wanted U.S. involvement in the Middle East. They got that. We occupied Afghanistan. We got the opium, we got America hooked on drugs. We got the Patriot Act, right? That got rammed down our throats. And the kind of beginning parts of this surveillance, technocratic, whatever it is that we live in today, not a constitutional republic, yeah, my ass. And so I think that it did accomplish the goals that they wanted of it, but it didn't go off perfectly, right? Like this whole urban moving systems hangout, this thread that we pull on, what I really think was supposed to happen was that there were supposed to be obvious bombs that went off that day in the basement, and that they were going to immediately blame it on Palestinian terrorism.
What? You think that was how this was supposed to go down?
Yes, because when the dancing Israelis were questioned by the FBI, They said, we are not your problem. Your problem is the same as our problem, the Palestinians. The moment they got, the dancing Israelis got arrested by the FBI, that was their comment. That's what they said. They were immediately trying to blame the Palestinians. And so, I think it harkens back to what was at the 1991 World Trade Center bombing, where, bombs went off in the basement.
Isn't it 93? I might be wrong.
It might have been 93. Why did I think it was 91, though?
Maybe you're right. I'll look it up. Go ahead.
It's 93. I think it's 93.
93.
Is it 93? Okay. I was saying 91 because I thought that it happened before Ruby Ridge, but I guess not. Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, I think they got what they wanted out of it. They got to milk the American cash cow a little bit longer. They got to overthrow their opponents in Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. They're still working on Iran. It seems clear to me anyway, but I mean, I've also been in this for a long time, and, I figured out this 9/11 stuff. Yeah. Around the time Loose Change came out, right? I mean, that was, between 2009 and 2012, somewhere in there.
I was a late adopter.
So.
I thought it was so kooky, like moon landing kooky to even entertain.
Yeah. Well, and that's because there was a lot of people that were like, oh, there were no planes, or, oh, it's direct energy weapons. There was like a lot of weird stuff, that was out there. Mm-hmm. Actually, a really good book on it. I remember I pulled this out. Was Solving 9/11 by Christopher Berlin. Don't agree with everything the guy says. He's very anti-Christian, but he did do a lot of really good work in putting that together. But yeah, I don't really have a good answer to your question.
No, you answered it.
Did I?
Yeah. Sorry, guys, we're all a little low energy.
Yeah, no, it's not that I'm low energy. It's that this Charlie Kirk thing has really put me off. It's just it put me off my frame. You know what I mean? Because I guess there was a couple things that I wanted to talk about too, which was, the 9/11 thing started this, which is JINSA. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. This is like the Jewish Israeli national security thing. Dang it, I should know what this actually stands for. The Jewish Institute for the National Security of America. Thank you. Jewish Institute for the National Security of America, JINSA. And so this is a program that is used to train every police officer, the sheriffs, FBI. They take your sheriffs, your law enforcement, they ship them over to Israel, train them with Mossad and Shin Bet, and bring them back. Our sheriff participated. He was actually one of the first.
What is his name again?
Bob Norris. He was one of the first that actually participated in this program, which is it's just an interesting data point. Something else that's interesting, because I obsess about this stuff, and I don't think enough people know about this, but with the Israeli art student ring that came down, and I know I'm on a goofy tangent.
We'll hear about it in the comments.
I will land the plane, okay?
Did you say you'll land the plane?
I will land this plane.
So inappropriate.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I apologize. But so the Israeli art student investigation that happened in LA, right? Like the Israelis started blackmailing the LA County Sheriff's Department. I don't know if people know about this, but they did. They started blackmailing the sheriffs, and they were doing it using the sheriff's own wiretapping software. Now, that software was initially developed as digital voicemail technology. Mm-hmm. And that was made at a firm called Boston Technology, which was owned by a guy named Greg Carr, right? He had this firm called Boston Technology that devised this voicemail scheme. He served as the chair. And then in 1998, he struck a deal, actually, with Converse Technology, right? This is who bought the voicemail management market stuff, okay? And it was Converse Technology that was identified by Fox News, of all people, as the group Converse and Amdocs that were responsible for targeting the sheriffs. Now, what's interesting is that Converse CEO Jacob Kobe Alexander was later found guilty on multiple counts of fraud relating to his Converse stock. Well, what's interesting is this guy, Greg Carr, did his deal selling Boston Technology to Converse, an American company, selling it to the Israelis for an all-stock deal with a guy who committed financial fraud. And then what did he do with the proceeds of this? Well, he went on to found the Carr Center for Human Rights and Policy at Harvard University in 1999, and then he gave a $6 million donation to the Kootenai County Human Rights Task Force with that dirty fucking money that he got for selling out our country to the Israelis, and they used it to buy up the land that Richard Butler's headquarters was
I had no idea. Land the plane.
So the plane is that these people made money on our tech, sold it to the Jews in Israel, used it to blackmail our people, and then took the profits from that operation and have been weaponizing it against white America for the past 25 years.
Oh, man, that's so sinister.
It's fucked up. And this is the regime that we're living under. These are the executors of this digital panopticon that they've built around us. This is who's running it.
You know, the Jews are smooth, I gotta say. If that wasn't so diabolical, I'd be impressed. I would be. That is some dark stuff.
Sorry for my weird rabbit hole on this thing, but like, you know, it's like I'm always looking at, well, how does Coeur d'Alene fit into this? How does Idaho fit into this? And it's like, holy shit. Like,
well, we feel protected here. I mean, but
maybe
probably
that's a false sense of protection.
It is a false sense of protection. I think that's why everybody's, everybody's jostled by the Charlie Kirk situation.
Get one of these. Have a nice side piece. hanging
I'm worried.
Out by you.
I am very worried.
Don't be worried.
I don't know.
You want to borrow my bulletproof vest?
That's too.
It's a little big. It'll be a little big for you.
All right, get your super chats into the backlash.net/super chat or our YouTube channel at Real Backlash. We had a bunch come in, help us to get to our goal. You can see that little bar down there.
Yeah.
Let's get a little bit further. But first,
we have to thank our sponsors, Atlas Bullion, who is here to help you navigate this fucked up financial world that we live in since 9/11.
I don't think we can say fuck in our ads.
They haven't said I can't. So I'm going to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. But please go to atlasbullion.com/backlash. There you can buy gold and silver at some of the best prices you can find on the internet. They have silver subscriptions starting as low as $55 a month, gold subscriptions as low as $200 a month. They also have options for your kids, the Little Legends option, if you want to start getting your kids to stack gold and silver. But yeah, as Cameron talked about, there's a lot of financial crime going on at 9/11. Some odd $2.4 trillion lost by the Pentagon. And what does the government do? They print more money. And printing more money makes your dollar worth less. And gold, of course, is now sitting at, what does it say? $3,647.
Good Lord.
Holy wow.
Holy wow.
Holy wow. Silver also at $41.25. So if you have been listening to this show for the past few months and been buying gold, you are probably up, which is good.
Get rich, white folk.
Please don't fall for scams.
Let's do some supers.
All right, let's do it. Let's see. Start off on entropy.
Wow, 3,647.
What does that mean?
The gold price.
Yeah, gold is extremely expensive now. Gorilla Hands sent $25 on entropy. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on,
I'm checking right now, and it doesn't look like suspect name is released.
No, but I did see a picture.
Was he an old guy?
An old guy with long hair.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's unconfirmed still.
We will see. We have another one on entropy. D-Widget? Do-Idget? I don't know. Whatever. Send $15. Between this and Irina, it is so completely obvious a war is happening, and I don't even trust our own government to take the necessary steps. It's time for whites as a group to group up and keep each other safe. Yeah, I agree. Let's go over to Power Chat. Today is the 10th. Hold on a second. I have to I have to refresh. Sorry. It's been a day. It has been a day. It's a weird day. I sat down to get my hair cut at the barbershop. And by the time that I left the barbershop, Charlie Kirk got shot and was pronounced dead. So it's like, oh, by the way, the conversation at the barbershop today was off the fucking chain. Before this whole Charlie Kirk thing started, everybody was talking about Israel. Everybody was talking about 9/11. The cat's out of the bag. I've never seen anything like that before. But you're in a
barbershop in Coeur d'Alene, to be fair.
Post Falls.
That would never happen in New York.
You never know. I don't know. You go visit those black barbershops. You hear some interesting stuff. Michael Gerard 2 sent $5. Please invite Robert Seffer as a guest. Also, Dave, you need to read The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop. I will. Thank you for the big super chat. Reinhardt sent $5. Vengeance for Charlie. Always remember, our enemies think far worse of us than they did of him. Act accordingly.
Yes. Yeah, Thank you, Reinhardt.
He was a moderate.
Yes.
They killed a moderate today.
Yes, they did.
Kelly, 1488, sent $100 on Rumble. Thank you for the big super chat. The violence is escalating. Unbelievably, leftist and black will become more unhinged. Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yes, that's true. But that is going to stimulate an awakening, right? It's going to accelerate our reorganization. So it's tragic, it's unfortunate, but it's a reality that we have to accept. And if, as I keep saying, if we accept it, then we can start to take the steps to solve it. And we will. That's what's going to happen.
Wow. Sorry, I just got a text message. I was joking earlier that they would probably have like a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk in Coeur d'Alene.
I'm sure they will.
And they are. No candlelight vigil for the 19,000 dead Palestinian babies.
Yeah, really.
Just saying.
Well, this is unfortunately Stalin, one of the, if not the most evil people in human history, said one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic.
Yes.
Right.
And that's a very true statement. It's very awful and cruel, but it is the reality that we live in.
Yep. Romega sent $49.99. Thank you for the big super chat. Stay safe. Don't worry. God stands with you. Thank you. Yes, I am not worried. Blonde is worried.
Oh, yeah.
Just go to confession. Go to confession.
Yeah, I don't want to die.
Live in the state of grace. And if someone decides to send you to meet Jesus, then you're better off.
You sound like my brother.
Oh, no. Anonymous sent $5. One less Civnat. Too bad he died cowering from Nick, but proved him right in the end. The ADF politicians, Trump and Kirk, should prove the political solution is just a pipe dream. This is how they're going to move forward from now on. What good is a vote if Pew?
I mean, I'm sympathetic. I'd be lying if I said I was not sympathetic to this position. However, the thing that we need to recognize about Charlie is that although he was a Civnat and a Shabbos Goy, he was a white father.
He's a human being.
And a human being. And we care about the sanctity of life. And for better or worse, he was part of our political realm. I think he was my political enemy.
Yeah.
But he was part of the political realm. And I think this portends negative things for people like us in future. This is a terrible development.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking about this. It's like I don't actually want my enemies to die. I just want them to shut the fuck up and stop bothering everyone.
You don't want your enemies to die?
Not really. I just want them to shut the fuck up and move on.
Oh no, I want them destroyed and many generations after.
Well, this is like changing that is what I'm saying. It's I'm going from the it'd be nice if my enemies just
fucked off.
Yeah, but now it's like
Yeah.
This is if they're just gonna kill us, then
yes.
YouTube, hello, YouTube.
Or please monetize me.
Anonymous sent $5. Why should we follow our laws and rules and theirs, but they don't have to follow either? Judges that aren't even lawyers passing the bar or getting elected to set precedents for every other ruling. Fuck that and fuck them all.
Yeah. This is the collateral damage, and this is why the left is going to lose. Right? Mm-hmm. They think that the white population has no sense of itself, that at the end of the day, we can be bullied, we can be lied to, we can be bribed, or we can be killed the way that we were in 9/11, and there will be no consequences. And I think that they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to be proven wrong in the near future. That the rule of law, as we understand it, we've talked about this on the show before, depends upon the citizenry believing in it, right? And this is a problem I have with a lot of folks, again, who insist that there is an elite cadre that concentrates power and they exercise that power arbitrarily and therefore they can control events.
I feel attacked, personally.
Social cohesion is a very fragile thing. And once it starts to break, then the legitimacy of authority starts to fall. And once you enter into that world, I call it the Hobbesian moment. Some people call it the state of exception. Then you're into a world that looks a lot like what we saw today with Charlie Kirk, a very dangerous world that becomes very, very difficult to control. And the left has very definitely put us into this frame of mind now that invalidates the state, invalidates the rule of law that white people believe in, that we submit to because we want to live in an ordered society. One other thing I want to say on this before we move on. I came across this quote years ago from William F. Buckley, and let me see if I can find it here. I brought it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here it is. Someday, this is from Buckley, who was hardly, a moderate, I would say, to be sure. He said, "Someday the patience of America may at last be exhausted, and we will strike out against liberals because we will conclude that they are mistaken in their predictions, false in their analysis, wrong in their advice, and through the results of their actions, injurious to the nation." That's where we're headed.
Wow, I never thought that I would say, I hope William F. Buckley was right.
Yeah.
But
that was well written and concise. I liked it. Yeah.
CIA paid him some really green money that week. I don't know.
We should
remember that Buckley went to Yale, and I think he wrote a famous book called God and Man at Yale, and he saw firsthand the nature of the communism, the nihilism, which imbues people with hate.
Yeah,
these people. They hate this country. They hate what it represents. A lot of people on the right, again, they think that the left is this sort of this purple-headed freak that protests in the street every now and again, like hippies did in the 60s. Listen, those hippies in the 60s weren't harmless either. The people that we're dealing with, they want to destroy the United States, and that begins by destroying us because we built it, we represent it, and they want nothing less than to erase us. That's what this is all about.
Yep. No, completely agree. Nemi B sent $5. I hope you guys stay safe. I believe Charlie was murdered by Mossad. It's their MO in American politics. Very true. He seemed to be slowly coming to our way externally, maybe internally. He's been a noticer. R.I.P.
I'm not convinced.
Is that true, Dave?
He started pushing back on Israel. Yeah. I mean, he did gently, lightly, barely, but he did kind of, start talking about, it's a lot of kids. Well, you know what I mean? Like he repeatedly platformed Candace Owens, which again, she's controlled op and not entirely correct about everything, but the fact that they were calling her an anti-Semite and then he goes out of his way to platform her again, and then, having Tucker Carlson come up and they're criticizing Israel at TPUSA events, like there was a lot. I mean, if you compare what was happening at these TPUSA rallies over the last 4 months with what's been going on there over the last 6 years, they opened up a line of criticism.
Why wouldn't they kill Candace then?
Well, it just doesn't make any sense why they would kill Charlie. It would make sense why they would kill Nick, why they'd kill us, why they'd kill, other people, but not Charlie. Again, other than to lionize him as a martyr. But then you're leaving kids with a content hole that's
right. I mean, I'm not going to subscribe to any conspiracy theories and
yeah, I mean, I want to see where this goes, but I also do not trust the authorities. I don't trust Kash Patel at the FBI. I don't trust Dan Bongino. I don't trust the administration. Period. I don't trust the DOJ. This is the same DOJ that went from one day saying I've got the Epstein list on my desk to the next day saying there is no Epstein list. You're a bigot, and this is a Democrat hoax.
Right.
So
but see, Dave, that sentiment that you just expressed, I think, is extremely widespread among white Americans, right? And 9/11 absolutely set us down this course.
Yes.
You're right that they got their war. They did. They got the global war on terrorism. They were able to grift, the military-industrial complex was able to make a lot of money. But it destroyed or it set the government down a path of invalidation.
Yeah.
And since that moment in time, if you even remotely entertain the notion that what happened on that day was even a modicum tolerated, permitted, or covered up by the government, then you can envision all manner of corruption and decadence and degradation, and your sense of trust is completely gone. And as I've said, that's dangerous, right? It is dangerous to lose that kind of faith and trust in your government. Anarchy, as we started off the show, I tried to emphasize this. Anarchism is a very dangerous idea because you need rule of law. You need courts of justice. If you lose those things, it's very, very difficult to get them back. But unfortunately, the foreign subversion of our government, the complete breakdown, the lack of any representation of the white population in the United States. And let's be clear, that's what all of this illustrates. Nobody represents us, not Donald Trump, not the Republican Party, not the Tea Party before him. None of these things really represent America's national identity, and therefore its national interest. And as a result, faith has collapsed. And that means that we're headed into some very dangerous times indeed. I'm just imploring all of you, and you, especially Rebecca, to understand that that's necessary. It's a necessary step. And secondly, that will actually strengthen our union because it will force us to accept reality, and then we can solve these problems.
Do you know what's trending on Twitter right now? 372 tweets, hashtag enough is enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good. Good. More people should be at this place. Now, what are you going to do? Now, what are you going to do? Now that you've decided enough is enough, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Right.
Are we going to have a candlelight vigil, or are we going to pass some laws? Are we going?
Wow, neither of those things.
We're going to pass some laws. Yeah,
neither of those things are going to do anything.
That's going to fix it. We're not even following the law. Damn, I need to disabuse myself even more. Son of a bitch.
Keep going.
Writing a new law isn't going to fix anything. Shady Merchant sent $5. Trump needs to declare whites as a minority status and give us protected status and hate crime laws against us. We are, 7% of the world population. We are a global minority. White people are going extinct, as a matter of fact, and we don't have a single country to call our own.
You see that man on the street video where he was asking different people what percentage of the world?
Like 50%, 60%.
Yeah, there are black people that are like 70%.
And then like one person at the end's like, maybe 7? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Have a nice day. See ya.
Unbelievable. Lepus Lucius sent $5. With everything going on, this is a unique turning point since Charlie Kirk was not a political party representative.
Yes.
True. Yeah. Very true. And whatever they assassinated him for, there are a lot of people out there celebrating his death. And we know what Charlie, stood for, right? Like, we know that he was a moderate, CivNat, Zio, compromise.
That's not what the left thinks of him, though.
That's not what the left thinks of him. And that's not why they killed him. They killed him because they thought that he represented what we represent.
Yeah.
Okay?
That is true.
So I don't want to hear it. It is RIP for Charlie, and that's all you're allowed to say, okay, on this.
Yeah, but that's right. And, again, that means that the political middle is disintegrating. That's irrelevant. That now we're in the friend-enemy continuum. We are in a binary political environment, and the same dynamic exists across Europe. That has not manifested itself politically yet, meaning that is a reality on the street. No political party expresses that view, but that's going to change. It's going to change in the next few months. I don't know how long it'll take in the United States, but it's already beginning to change in Europe. We're facing an emergency, right?
Yes.
That's what this is.
Antelope Hill 5 hours ago tweeted, "The bullet fired at Charlie Kirk may have killed the moderate right."
True.
It's gone mega viral, and I think that just hammers it down. That's what happened.
Yeah, because that is what he represented. He represented the moderate, reasonable, can't we get along and debate our way out of this? Well, no, the time for debate is over, apparently. Lepus Lucius sent $5. Interesting that Devin Stack's book features the assassination of a similar nature that kicks off the events to follow. Lepus Lucius also sent $5 saying, also, it appears that there was a school shooting that happened today in Colorado. 3 dead.
3 killed, yep.
I think I did hear about that.
I'm sorry that got buried.
Yeah, that sucks. Was it kids, I guess?
Yes.
Devin Stacks, he wrote a book called Day of the Rope.
Day of the Rope.
Day of the Rope. And way better than Turner Diaries, by the way. I read both. Turner Diaries, kind of, it made me feel yucky. Day of the Rope by Devin Stack, on the other hand, very good read. Very good book. We should have him on again. Book Track Grooves sent $10. Find good friends, build family, and learn to fight. Be good with your words. David, have a jar of vinegar open to get rid of the flies.
Does that work?
Bro, if it does, I'm going to straight up
it's so bad at my house too. Every August, there are just flies. My cat's been killing them in droves.
Plus we live in the prairie. We've got chickens. It's a mess.
It's really bad. Yeah.
I will try the jar of vinegar trick for next week. Please. Thank you. That is some good advice. Anonymous sent $5. If you have to choose freedom for all our security, choose security. Make every decision to best secure the continuation of your people, since freedom just gets nons close to stab you, shoot you, or in positions of power to have traitors do it.
Well, that's the nature of authoritarianism, right? People foregoing maximal individual freedoms for a sense of enshrined security. So, I mean, he's right in that.
Yeah,
but you can see it go the other way too.
Yeah, you also see the people that what's the quote? If you choose security over freedom, then you deserve neither.
Right. But you also see it go the other way with women demanding security from the government, and that's how our culture became so feminized. So this is
maybe if it was men in the government choosing how to secure the nation, we'd be better.
Well, it depends on what we mean by security. I mean, white.
Well,
it's a false binary, right? And I've tried to explain this before. Nobody wants to end the Republican form of government that we gave birth to several hundred years ago on this continent. Okay, what we want is a restoration of order, and that means that we're entering into a transitional period. And if our English-speaking archetypes have anything to say about it, it will look Cromwellian. And when you get these Cromwellian-like moments, you have a reconstitution of the state. That's a fancy way of saying we're going to get a new social contract, because the current social contract, or the legacy social contract, that has broken down. But in order to get there, you have to restore order, right? And this is why I've said before, if you look carefully what Trump is doing, or rather trying to do, sending the armed forces into these cities, this is an attempt to restore order and the rule of law in the United States. This is not an attempt to send us all into FEMA camps, okay? That's not what's happening, but it's going to fail because Donald Trump is trying to breathe life into a structure that's dead. It's dying. The whole government apparatus, which is what we talked about when we went through 9/11, it's corrupt, it's depraved, it's degraded, it's going to implode. So we need to prepare for a transitional-like government that's going to restore order. And this happens. This has happened throughout Western history, and it's about to happen in the United States. But that does not mean the end of our freedoms. Our freedoms will come back once there is a restoration of order. And they'll come back because we, as white peoples, will demand it, right? We will demand that our freedoms come back. So don't be lulled into this false binary that this is a trap that's laid by people on the left, right? If you oppose democracy, then you're an authoritarian tyrant. No, that's not the way it works. If there's no order, there can be no freedom, right? You have to have order, period.
Yep. Yeah, speaking of, I was seeing before the Charlie Kirk thing went off today, my timeline was basically all Nepal, right? Nepal is in the midst of a revolution over there because they've been, ruled by communist types. And there is a restoration of order happening there, apparently. Phoenix Actual sent $10. Cameron, defense CTR here. Do you think with the Charlie Kirk moment today that the tipping point is finally here, or do you think things will just continually progress to higher shootings and boom booms?
No, I look, the tipping point, again, I would reemphasize Stalin's dictum, right? One death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. I think Charlie Kirk's death is tragic. And remember, we don't know what the cause is. I cannot stress that enough. I don't know the details. Obviously, people are superimposing upon it a certain narrative. No, I don't think this means that we finally crossed the Rubicon. I think that will come when the financial system really melts down. Yep. Because when that happens, your baby boomer generation, which really represents the wealth and power in this country, they're going to abandon their faith in the legacy structure will collapse. And that will be the turning point. We're not there yet.
Yep. Tom Travis sent $20. Sad day for America. Yeah, it is. New Renaissance sent $10. So many great observations today. It's hard to know what to say, but I will offer this. I hope the line has been crossed. I hope the next wave is one that crests the seawall. It has to happen soon. Yeah.
Is this a turning point?
The worst possible thing that what? Yeah, we got that. All right. The worst possible thing.
You guys have crossed the Rubicon against flies. That's for sure.
Can you see this? It's just
besides these flies, the second worst thing in this fucking country is that it just goes down forever. It's just going to keep going down and getting worse and worse, and there's never actually going to be a critical mass moment where anything changes. That is what terrifies me. That's what keeps me up at night. Is that it's just going to be a progressive decline slowly over time.
That is why I'm an accelerationist, because I'm like, if things can happen like a controlled demolition, then maybe I have an opportunity to be part of building something before both my daughters have to deal with this.
Right.
And
we got 18 years.
The anticipatory anxiety of like just knowing that we're going to slide into some sort of violent minority ruled third world status is so much worse than us having to deal with the financial collapse in the interim.
Or the flies.
No, listen, it's not going to go that way. Okay. They're just look at what's happened since we began this podcast.
That's true.
Right. In November of last year to today, look at all the developments that have unfolded. Look at the awakening, the red pilling that's happened with the Israeli question, right? We have advanced farther on that issue in the last 180 days than we have over the last 20 years. And Charlie Kirk factors into that story, as Dave alluded to a moment ago. Look at what has happened in terms of race consciousness in this country. I mean, the two of you have been in this industry for 10 years. Okay, we have advanced farther in terms of race realism and having real conversations about the nature of crime and demography in the United States in the last 6 months than I've seen in the last 15 years.
That's
and I think
true.
Both of you would agree. Okay, no, we're on the path, and this is only going to accelerate. It's going to pick up speed. What I'm saying is we have not crossed the Rubicon yet, because the population is not sufficiently rattled that it's being forced to reorganize itself. What does that look like? Turn on your TV and watch what's happening in the United Kingdom, or watch what's happening in France. There is a reorganization that's happening in those countries as we speak, okay? And even there, they haven't fully fleshed out into a full mass movement that is positioned to change the country or change the nation. So we're in early stages, but that is absolutely where we're headed. The other thing is this: people continue to use the Civil War framework. That is the wrong framework to use. Everybody in the United States and across Europe is exactly the same. Everybody knows what the nation is. Everybody knows who's an American and who isn't, right? We played that clip from Mehdi Hassan a few weeks back. He knows what an American is and what it is not. Everybody knows. The question is, when do the lights go on? When does the majority start saying, hey, yeah, this is who we are and this is who we're not? When that happens, you're going to see a radical reorientation of political power in the United States. And a lot of foreigners that are here, they will go home. That is what's going to happen. They do not have deep roots. They did not survive the harsh winters several hundred years ago. They didn't have to fight genocidal indigenous people. They're not here to fight long wars, okay? A lot of these people are just going to go home because they know it's not their country anyway. We just have to turn the lights on. And yes, tragically speaking, Charlie Kirk's death is facilitating that to some extent. I don't know how, to what extent, but to some degree, absolutely. The economic story is the bigger piece. When that goes, the lights will come on.
Yep. Donald Trump has just ordered all flags to be flown at half-mast until Sunday. So
yeah, and one other thing too, you're going to see over the next few days an attempt by many people to ratchet down the tension. All right, it's inevitable. We started the show with this, right? The talking points are going to come out. We are not divided. Don't let them divide. All this crap, right? And the left will destroy that because they will say Charlie Kirk was a bigot. They'll say terrible things about him. They will obstruct efforts to create calm. You watch. That's what will happen. This will not last. If there's any pause in the tensions or any sort of pacification, it's not going to last.
Mm-hmm. True.
Sadly.
Robert sent $25. No jokes this time. I want you guys to stay safe. I hope you are packing in studio, Dave. Nick mentioned after his scare of hosting another AFPAC is very risky at the moment. Also, Blonde is right. You are a great fit for the show, Dave. Cameron is okay too, I guess. 07. What a weird... See?
Class of 07.
No, he's saying 07, like 07 salute.
Oh, I don't know.
No, but he's saying Blonde is right. You're a great fit for the show. That's so weird because I checked the comment section. The comments don't like me.
That's okay.
They don't want me to quit. You want me to quit?
No, Dave's never going to quit.
No, I don't know when to quit. As we found out
Can't
from
stop,
the
won't stop.
as we found out from the tubing incident on Sunday. Yeah, no. Anyway, Wheelgun Nationalists at $9.99. Here you guys go. Keep up the good work. We need Christ more than ever.
Yep.
Very true. It is Christ or chaos, and the world is choosing chaos. So what are you going to do? Get a gun. Protect your family. Don't do anything stupid, obviously. Anonymous sent $5. I'm not a big Fuentes fanboy, but I think it is time you guys mobilize and start protecting him and dragging his ass out into the public sphere and platforming him. The right's being called. Don't let it be a quiet execution anymore. I don't think dragging his ass out into the public sphere literally like 3 hours after a guy gets shot in the neck. I don't know if that's like...
Well, he needs to get out of Chicago. He does.
I've been telling him that for years.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have been telling him that for years, but like Martin Sellner is in Austria, Chicago's his town. That's his town, you know, so...
Well, it's not his town anymore.
No.
And for all of you people that are like... oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Becca, finish your thought, please.
Oh, for all of you people that I in the comments, get Nick on the show, get Nick on the show. I went as far as to surreptitiously acquire his phone number and then badger him through text. And I don't think he liked that.
Probably not.
I bet not. I bet he's really pissed about it. So there's really nothing I can do. I have that. Yeah, I've used every possible.
People, I guess, don't know that my godson and I have beef. My godson is very close with Nick. Nick is taking my godson's side. So we have some beef transference going on. I love Nick. I've never had a problem with him.
But he's totally not going to come on the show.
He's even said that he doesn't have a problem with me, but it's people around him that have a problem with me. That's okay.
Unfortunately, there will be no Fuentes hour on the
Probably
Backlash.
Not.
But
Probably
in the event
not.
that changes, he's always welcome.
We'd love to have him.
We would love
to have him.
It'd be
great.
Go ahead, Cameron.
The most important political commentator right now.
So look, the right thing to do, and I'm talking specifically to our audience, the right thing to do right now is absolutely nothing, okay? You need to let what is happening happen. You need to let the process
we're so impatient.
work itself out. All right. You need to let other people awaken to what is happening, and they will. All right. But you don't want to jump in front of a train that's derailing, which is exactly what that previous question implied. Right. You do not want to do that. You want to protect yourself. You want to get through the process. The way we win, the way we prevail, is by surviving. And we survive by accepting reality, by taking precautions, by being smart and not being naive, not playing hero ball, as they say in sports, okay? Let the process unfold. Things are trending in our direction. We are going to prevail. We will. This was all inevitable. There was always going to be a conflict. There was always going to be a collision. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. All of you are intelligent people. Obviously, if you're listening to our show, your brain is on. Now is the time to take precautions, to be safe, to avoid trouble, and let the system break. That's what you should do.
Part of that is strategic retreat. And we talked about this with JF, because a lot of people that came to America and went to Canada from Scotland and England and Ireland and Italy, they did so because, I mean, maybe their lives are being threatened, but there was also no opportunity for prosperity. So, you know, we have to decide when we need to retreat and regroup. And there's nothing shameful about that. Really keeping the flame alive, keeping our families safe.
Yeah.
Protecting our fertility should be our number one goal.
And speaking of, hold on 1 second. I was just going to say, speaking of this idea of retreating, that event that we had on Monday night went really well.
There were a lot of people here.
40 people. I did a head count.
Boy, my daughter bombed that speech.
Yeah, my kids too, but doesn't matter. It was a great time. A lot of good people getting together, networking. Arvel's doing some really important stuff. And looking forward to seeing what he builds.
Yes,
hopefully
me too.
he builds something good. Sorry, Cam, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, naivete and ignorance, particularly in a dangerous environment like we're in today, that is the real problem, right? Assuming that we're in a political environment that's like the 1990s, that's the mistake. But as long as you accept that there are crazy lefty lunatics out there that will take shots at you, then you can employ security measures. You can take the precautions that you need to protect yourself. And that's what we'll do, okay? Do not venture beyond your lair, right? Now is not the time to do that. That time is coming. But for the time being, it's not retreat, it's retrench, right? Just protect yourself and get through the process. So you do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Let's see here. Wheelgun Nationalists at $19.99. Thank you for the big super chat. If you are a man, I think you need to watch both videos. You have to understand the truth of the world and what evil is capable of, especially if you have a family to protect. It's our burden as men to take on. What videos is he talking about?
The Charlie Kirk videos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Go to my Twitter. It's gone viral, apparently. Anonymous sent $5. Fuentes needs to get married, and the Kirk family needs a father.
Whoa.
Bro.
Whoa, come on.
Bro.
Never going to happen.
It's a little early, okay? She just lost her husband. The kids just lost their father. Okay. And Washington sent $5. Tough day. Hug your kids. Yes. Charlie was killed for what I am, a young right-wing Christian male. We are the target.
Yes.
Yes. Anonymous sent $5. If Nick and Charlie's wife could get together, that would be the best possible outcome.
Come on, you guys.
Okay. I did not think that the Backlash was going to be matchmaking. Here we are. Let me just double check entropy real quick. Some glitchiness going on. Nothing new on entropy. Power chat. Nothing new on the crypto super chat platform.
Do you think I could send him cookies and that would make him like me?
Who, Charlie or Nick? I don't know. I mean,
it would get him to like me and also let him know that I know where he lives.
That would be weird. That would be weird. Somebody can why don't you just address Nick and then someone will clip it?
Nick, I know no e-girls. I'm not trying to make myself an exception. I know. I'm just the 37-year-old face of this show to platform Dave and Cameron and Vince before he retired. I'm just using my last few years of fertility to catapult racism into the public sphere. You can respect that, right? Come on, Nick. Come on. I'm sorry I texted you. That was out of order. It really was. I'm sorry.
The end?
That's
okay.
the end. That's it.
Okay, there we go. Book Track Groove sent $10 on Rumble. Bronze routine.
Bronze.
What am I, Asian? Jeez, I took my Asian pills this morning.
You know, when I had that meetup in Kyoto, they made we had a beautiful dinner with all of my fans, and then a little cake came out, and on it said, welcome to the meetup, Brond, BRONDE. I was so touched. I just went back to my hostel after that and cried. I was like,
funny.
So sweet.
Book Track Groove sent $10. Blonde routine. Wake up, go outside, run around, egg and bacon emails, research past and present, kiss husband.
Dude, that's pretty close. I do a lot of childcare and cooking.
Yes.
A lot of cooking.
That, I do believe, brings us up to date on Super Chats. However, you still have a chance to get your last-minute Super Chats in at the backlash.net/Super Chat. But first, we have to thank our sponsor, Idaho Tallow Company, for bringing you this hard-hitting content today. If you are tired of skincare packed with chemicals you can't pronounce, at North Idaho Tallow, we keep it simple with grass-fed tallow, time-tested ingredients, and zero junk. Our soaps, balms, and lip balm are packed with bioavailable nutrients your skin actually needs. No fillers, no endocrine disruptors, just rugged, reliable skincare that works. Ditch the synthetic garbage and switch to North Idaho Tallow Company. Get yours at idahotallow.com. And please make sure you sign up for the Soap of the Month Club, because you get soap every month, plus a special bar, and you get to subsidize the Backlash podcast. So thank you very much to North Idaho Tallow. We also have to give a special shout out to Antelope Hill Publishing, America's premier dissident publisher, fighting to keep history alive against the regime of anti-white censorship and to publish a new generation of dissident, radical, and right-wing researchers, philosophers, polemicists, and writers. They have an eclectic catalog that includes veteran right-wing authors and academics like Carrie Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, and Paul Kersey, as well as newer figures like Lord Miles Routledge of Afghanistan, Josh Neal, and Christian Secor. In addition to a long list of original translations or modern reprints of otherwise inaccessible historical works from eras such as fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and even medieval Europe. Their original works include groundbreaking investigations into the causes and funding behind transgenderism and the opioid crisis, books on Christian nationalism and American folktales. Additionally, Antelope Hill contributes to the regeneration of our culture and rebirth of our family values through their top-quality fiction, including books like Let Them Look West and Worlds Separated, and a collection of beautifully illustrated and wholesome children's books. Whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published and with cover art that will grace your bookshelves. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and work to preserve the birthright of our history. Visit antelopehillpublishing.com.
FBI Director Kash Patel, the subject custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues, and we will continue to release information in the interest of transparency.
Oh.
Subject still at large.
Wow. Still at large.
Yep.
How far of a drive is it from Utah to Idaho?
I don't know. I was thinking about that today, too. We're fine. We're too small.
Maybe I'll get the AKs dusted off for tonight. I don't know.
We'll be fine.
We'll be fine. I'm just being a bitch.
Are our last words.
Flies.
I know.
Right? I'll have like a cloud of flies descend.
Biblical over here. Are we good on
macaroni.
supers?
No, we're not. We got a couple more.
Okay.
Yeah, tough day. If they'll kill... Yeah. If they'll kill Charlie Kirk just for speaking, what will they do to you for being silent?
Ooh.
Bruh. Very true. Shady_merchant sent $10 on Rumble. Never forget Bob Matthews was a Mormon. True. Very true. People have not pieced that whole thing together with the order and Mormon extremism. Bob Matthews was from like a really weird
Right. You've talked about this before on the show.
Mormon sect down in like Arizona called the Sons of Liberty or something, and then came up here.
Believed to have served as a lookout in the murder of Alan Berg.
Oh yeah, you don't know about this?
I do.
You're looking at yeah. I don't know. I think the Alan Berg thing was actually a mob hit. I don't think it was the order, but no one from the order has ever like answered my questions. So I don't know. I think a couple of them are still alive. Excuse me. The FBA Groyper sent $5. What were each of your thoughts on Nick's viral video speaking out about moving past the anger and resentment? Blonde seemed confused when she saw it. Well, that's because Blonde's a woman.
No.
She had to watch it twice.
I had to watch it because Beardley, did you see the Beardley?
You had to turn up the volume on it.
Yeah, Beardley was like, oh, just watch at 0.5 speed because you just don't understand because you're a woman. No. I understand. His perspective is in line with Christian ethics, but I am not there yet. And part of me hopes that I'll never get there because my hate protects me from evil.
No, it does not.
It does.
No,
it does.
Love protects you from evil.
No, that sounds like Christian nonsense. I don't know, man. I can't go there yet. Maybe someday I'll get there, but right now my hatred is protective of me, of my family, and I don't really want to abandon it because it makes me feel good.
See, and like this is kind of indicative of like there is a divide in our movement or whatever, and it's like I operate based out of love. I love who I am. I love my family. I love my parents. I love my kids.
I love all those things too.
And out of love for them, I want to protect them.
Okay, out of love for them, I hate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying righteous anger and hatred of your enemy is a natural thing that protects you from their advances.
You have to love your enemies.
Nope.
You have to love your enemy.
No, I understand. I am Catholic, but this is one of the reasons that I'm lapsed because I don't think I have the capacity to love my enemies. I want my enemies dead and I want their families dead. And I don't want to ever have to deal with them or my children to have to deal with them. And I think that that's a good thing. And I embrace my hate. And it's become such an important part of my personality that who would I even be without it?
I'm going to clip this, send it to a priest, and then arrange for you to go to confession.
Fine.
Okay. It'll be good.
But I'm going to tell that priest that
literally the exact same.
I am. It's not that like I'm fighting against this. I fully embraced it and I have no intention of abandoning my hate. I think it's a good thing. I think we need to hate more. More hatred is the solution.
More love. Ugh. Love is the solution.
That sounds like hippie-coded nonsense. Where is the acid orgy? Where is it?
I think it's going on at like MIT in the basement somewhere. I do believe we are now all caught up on Super Chats.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm just going to read one more thing and then I'll let you guys go. This is from a book called Revolutionary Temper. It's written by Robert Darnton. I've quoted from him before. He wrote as I quote, "The revolution in Paris in 1789 as the culmination of 40 years worth of political scandals and cultural polemics, which, fueled by a barrage of real and fake news from a diverse range of sources, fostered in the public, quote, a revolutionary temper, like a fever, that was ready to destroy one world and construct another. We are in the destruction phase. As I've said before, the legacy structure is going to fall economically, politically, socially, and otherwise. And we saw, presumably, an example of that today. Regardless of the motivations, the violence in and of itself demonstrates a kind of social failure, right? We are in the destruction phase. The idea that is going to be controlled is absurd, right? And it reflects a lack of understanding of where we are historically. Things are going to get ugly. That's a fact. It's not an opinion. So we have to deal with that. We have to accept it. If we accept that reality, then we'll get through the process. We'll take the necessary precautions, we'll take the safeguards, and we'll prepare for the long haul. If we don't, if we naively assume that the animal spirits can be contained and controlled and moderated and streamlined, then we're going to fall victim to what we saw here today as well. And I don't want that for anybody. So before we go into the construction phase, we have to get through the destruction phase first. And that's the phase that we're in.
Yeah.
Always poised, Cameron.
Yeah.
I saw something in the live chat I wanted to read too really quick before we go. The violence is coming, Rebecca. We can't give in to the hate. I thought I hated Charlie Kirk. Seeing him die, though, I realized I don't hate him. And that was the experience that I had today. When I watched that video, he was a man. He was a human. Yeah. He was a father. And everything I felt about him, I didn't watch it and think like that guy deserved it. You know, like there is something deeply human about violence, about death, and it connects all of us. And at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk was our white brother. I mean, he was. I disagreed with basically everything he's ever said.
Yeah.
But he was our white brother, and we need to think about that.
I don't disagree with that. Basically everything he's ever said. I actually agree with like 85%.
Okay, but his motivations for saying a lot of things were not.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think everyone knows what you mean. Tomorrow evening, there will be a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk in Coeur d'Alene at McEwen Park, 7:15 p.m. I will be there because I knew the guy, and he's dead now, and that's fucked up.
It really is. So prayers for Charlie's family, and we are so sorry. Over at the Backlash, we offer our sincerest condolences for his family, for his friends, for his loved ones, and everybody that is dealing with the backlash of
If
what is
there's
going on.
anything you need, if there's someone from TPUSA watching, give me a call. Whatever I can do to help.
Yep.
This is fucked up, man.
This is The Backlash. You can find all of our links at thebacklash.net. Please follow us on Instagram. That is real.backlash. Follow us on TikTok. That is at @BacklashPod. We will see you on Monday with Mr. Gypsy Crusader.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
See you then. Bye, guys.